everybody, welcome back to another episode of Collector's Quest. I'm Johnny, here with Tyler, doing a recording in the afternoon. Tyler, we're both wide awake. The sun is shining. The days are good. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, Johnny. How about you?
I am doing very well, thank you. My wife and son are camping, so I've got some weird free time, which allows us to do this mid-afternoon episode. You know what, Tyler? It would be a great time to maybe go play some sports.
Okay, we can right into it. No, because it's too hot, but sure. It's maybe we can go inside and play some like roller hockey or something.
Or maybe, Tyler, you could play sports on your video game consoles.
Whoa. Okay, so like Death Row on Xbox, the futuristic sports game where you also fight?
Yep. Or maybe Mutant Hockey. Mutant League Hockey or
Mutant Hockey League, the ripoff or spiritual sequel. I don't really remember which one it is. That came out on Steam like 5 years ago or something.
Don't remember. Hey, the original one came with cards.
It sure did. Wait, did Mutant League Hockey and Mutant League Football both come with cards?
Oh, I don't know. Football definitely did, right?
So yeah, football did. I think there's 12 cards and it came with 2, and I love that. I don't know. I don't understand why that's not a promotion more. Like the one of the Lord of the Rings games, I think it might have been The Hobbit on Xbox, came with a card. And it was like one of like 20. And you only got one, so...
No, that wasn't The Hobbit.
Was it Fellowship?
Fellowship. Hobbit came with like 4 different ones.
Okay, yeah. But like, there's zero chance you're going to complete the set, even easily if you pool everything you and your friends got. So it like really makes, if you care about it, like they really want you to hunt for it. And I love that.
Yeah, like VG Collectaholic cared. He did it.
Yeah.
I have like 6 of them. And then I was like, I'm tapping out. I can't do this.
It's real dumb.
I wish I was dumber.
Sports cards are real dumb. That's why we collect video games, except if there was ever an episode that sports card people were going to listen to, maybe this episode. And if there's ever an episode that video game people are going to be like, we could skip that one. Maybe also this episode, Johnny.
You know, once upon a time, we did a sports episode. It didn't go well.
We're talking, you did it in like 1989 though, right?
Something like that.
Back before I was on the show.
It was in the long ago, and it was 30 minutes long.
Like, we're not even going to get into talking about video games for 30 minutes.
I tried to get us right there. I segued us and everything.
Okay, so before everyone shuts off the episode, because now we're going to talk about sports video games, the whole point of this episode is I want to bring up a few different kinds of categories of sports games and why different people might be interested in collecting them. Because I do think sports games in general, probably the most overlooked, underappreciated genre. And I'm not saying it's a good genre to collect. I also, for the most part, don't like collecting sports games. But I think there are outside sports people, like sports card people, who might be interested in certain kinds of video games. And I think there are just like regular set collectors and people who go after good stuff that might be interested in certain kinds of sports games. And we're going to talk about a few examples of these different categories.
True. And I just think sports enthusiasts, when they collect memorabilia, I think they are collectors of all kinds of ephemera, and suddenly they found their way to video games, so they're buying up first appearances and first covers. So it's just weird that sports games used to be in like this like F tier category, except for these like weird offshoots that were, hey, these are expensive because they were kind of rare, and now it's become a genre in itself to collect. It's an interesting transition.
Yeah, and if you're talking about like, 2020 people coming in buying WATA graded stuff, there were a couple guys I know that went and they bought like first cover appearances of random athletes and got them graded, like just whatever sealed was available, because I'm sure the stuff was all like $10 on eBay, got them graded and then took that stuff to sports shows. From the reports I heard, they did like okay, like break even to not great. Maybe, someone listening to the show could say I'm wrong. It did not sound like sports card people, like sports people, were super interested in sealed video games as anything other than like a cheap novelty. But there have been a couple crazy sales. But I don't think that the sports card people are just buying anything. They're just like, oh, just the first LeBron, that should be $10,000, just like the card is.
Yeah, and I mean more of the people who are like who collect cards, but also might have a jersey hanging on their wall. Like people who go a little beyond. Like they've got a helmet, they are just looking for all the ephemera for their favorite player or team, or the player that represents their team best. So I just think it's a new window that is opened up a little bit and wasn't as considered before. Even if it was artificially inflated to begin with, I think it has more sticking power now than it ever has. That doesn't mean it's got a bunch, but it's definitely more prominent. Prices of sports games are higher now in general.
I can agree with that. And one of my favorite things that you've ever said on Collector's Quest is people want permission to collect something. So we're throwing, let's say like NBA Action 98 is the first Kobe game, or the first cover appearance of Kobe. And I don't know what the prices of that are right now, but I'm sure it was like literally $7, like a $7 Sega Saturn game, like 5 years ago, probably 5 years ago, maybe a little bit longer than that. But now that people are like thinking like, oh, well, it's Kobe, like it's probably like, probably $30 now or something. Because people just wanted like, oh, there's a reason for people to think this is cool. Okay, I guess we can put a premium on this now. Whereas before, everyone would just look at it and, like throw in the garbage.
Yeah, and sports games have weirdly become a collective permission, because now it's like, oh, this is an okay thing that is a collectible. So now we can buy that and then also try to charge premiums for it. So weird thing we've backed into. But here we are. And I like sports, but I don't particularly like sports games. And this was your episode idea. So it's wild that we got here, but here we are.
It is. I just want to make sure I'm not lying. So in 2018, NBA Action 98 on Sega Saturn was a little under $9. And now it is a little under $40. You know what? For prices I made up off the top of my head, I'm going to say that was pretty good.
Pretty good. Not bad, Tyler.
Johnny, let's start with the most exciting category, the super rare sports games, because there actually are a lot of them.
Are there?
So either at the top of a lot of console sets or like right below the top, there's usually some sports games. For whatever reason, if I was guessing, I would think like, okay, probably like the last FIFA, the last F1 game, like who's buying that when like the next gen console is out? But it's not those games. Those games are usually like uncommon and exciting, but they're not the games that end up being super rare. They're just always usually ends up being a sports game towards the really rare end of a console library. The most obvious one being stadium events, which we're a video game collector podcast. We just don't need to talk about stadium events. Everyone knows what it is. It exists. It's tens of thousands of dollars. That's fantastic. Johnny, this is a game I brought up a bunch of times on Collector's Quest. It's my favorite modern rarity. NBA Elite 11. I think this is the modern grail. I think if I was to point to one game that everyone should be like, oh, damn, that's the game, it's NBA Elite 11. It's not Poop Slinger. It's always my counter against Poop Slinger, because you know what? People have Poop Slinger. You can go on eBay. You can buy a Poop Slinger. There's a Poop Slinger on Heritage Auctions right now. Poop Slinger is out there. Only collectors bought Poop Slinger. Who bought NBA Elite 11? Like people who like stole them out of store inventory? Like where did the existing copies even come from? There are so few copies of this game because it was canceled right when it was supposed to be released. So NBA Elite 11, if you don't know, because, NBA Elite series, I don't even know if that's still a thing. It probably isn't. But this game was coming out, and it was like the definition of just like a dumpster, nothing has changed sequel full of bugs. And so it shipped to stores. A demo came out digitally on the consoles at the time. So that would be Xbox and PS3. Or maybe only the PS3 demo came out. I don't remember. But it was so bad, and like people were trashing it online, that they canceled the game after it was physically produced. And there are so few copies of this that managed to get out there. Like some of them might have been like pre-release sales that broke the street date kind of deal. But people spend ridiculous money on anything related because it's so hard to find the game. People buy the display boxes for hundreds of dollars. In 2021, a display box of NBA Elite 11 sold for $2,500. The display box! We're talking, if you look at the world of things like VidPro cards and display boxes and even just store displays, like To sell for thousands of dollars, it's generally going to be a Mario, a Zelda, something vintage, something very exciting. For an NBA game display box to sell for that money, and I realized 2021 was the peak of the market. That is how desperate people are to feel like they completed their Xbox collection or feel like they completed their PS3 set, because that must have been someone who was just like, I just need something related to NBA Elite 11 to feel like my collection's complete because I just can't get the game.
Yeah, you know what's interesting about it too is it carries that same cachet that Stadium Events does, in the sense that there's an argument. Does it count or doesn't it? People get to fight about this game, which then, increases the hype that surrounds the game and draws interest, like buyer interest. So I like that about it. I think you're right that it is like a modern day actual collectible. I still want nothing to do with it, but more power to anyone who's interested in this game.
I mean, I'll take it. You show me one at Goodwill, I'm there. But yeah,
absolutely.
I would even spend hundreds of dollars on this. But for the people interested in modern games, I think like this is potentially the game, unless someone has a better example. And the example better not be Poop Slinger, but this game is genuinely super rare. Another the game might be like Pokemon Box, because that is genuinely rare in the big box. Not as rare as this, obviously, but that has the Pokemon name, so that goes a lot further. Just another sale last year, Johnny. A disc-only modern game, $7,000. I have no idea what this would sell for, complete in box or sealed, but like it seems like it would have to go for over $10,000, which is bananas.
It is bananas. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to make of that. It's kind of insane, actually.
Yeah. Who's collecting modern games who has $7,000 to blow on that? Like, people, I mean, let's not get into, like, income brackets and stuff, but, like, people collecting modern games probably are doing it to spend, either because they are younger and identify more with, like, the Xbox 360 era, or because it's cheaper to collect modern games than, NES games or Super Nintendo games in cardboard boxes. Who's collecting modern games with $7,000 to blow on something that's like not even the complete thing? I don't understand it.
I don't know. Someone was desperate to complete that set.
Yeah. Yeah, like same thing. Like someone just needed to complete their set. That's a lot of money.
Yeah. Man, set collecting is a hell of a drug.
Yeah. There's more random stuff out there. There's lanyards. There's PS3s that had the demo installed. So when the game was canceled, it's one of those things where people are like, "Oh, I've got the demo on my PS3. You could have my PS3 for $600." So sometimes that shows up when you do a search for this game. And like kind of anything related to it, it's probably going to sell for like over $100. There's PAL display boxes out there too, but those are worth a lot less because let's be real. Stupid, like terrible NBA game that was so bad because it was canceled. Like, yes, $7,000 for a disc makes sense, but the PAL display box, let's not be crazy. I don't buy garbage.
Yeah. How dare you? How dare you even bring that up?
All right. Yeah, that's all I got to say about this. I think it's organically a rare and collectible thing, which is the opposite of Poop Slinger, which is why I think it's the best thing. Even in a world where I'm like, the stupid rare stuff that no one cares about shouldn't be the stuff we collect, shouldn't be the stuff that's worth the most, which is kind of how I feel now. But if I was to pick the modern game, this would be it. But still don't collect it, because we're living in the future. Just go buy Breath of the Wild Master Edition or something. I don't know.
Okay. Excellent news. All right. So we have more games in this category that I think we can just touch on. We don't need to like go into extremes here. But there are these types of games, these giant heavy hitters, kind of rare, kind of expensive for whatever reason, that just sit on the top of their sets. You want to go through a couple of these with me?
Oh, yeah, sure. So, I mean, like Neo Geo AES, the top game is Metal Slug. Right under the top game is Neo Turf Masters, which is, I don't know what it goes for, but tens of thousands of dollars. Who knows? I don't know what the AES people are up to, but Neo Turf Masters, tens of thousands of dollars. It is a beloved Neo Geo game. It's a great game. I love it. It's this price because it's rare, not just because it's beloved, but bananas weird rare sports game. And then on the N64, right under Sculptor's Cut, you've got Super Bowling and Stunt Racer,
which is crazy. I mean, just talk about a fleet of trash games all in a row.
The N64 rarities are just they're so bad. They're really bad. I don't know, man.
I mean, and also like in this crew, but like dipped off quite a bit. Used to be International Super Soccer. That used to be like a Blockbuster rental that like people would put on their top tier N64 games. That used to be one that like people were after. That one fell off quite a bit, though.
Yeah, ISS 2000 on N64. That's so funny because Get the Greg Games has brought that up multiple times. That was a sealed game he invested in like years and years ago because he was looking at games and he's like, what is going to be the thing that increases in value the most? And like the most obvious thing was like ISS 2000, because obviously who's going to have an ISS 2000? Let me buy that sealed. That's going to be what's valuable in the future. And here we are in the future. And like, who the hell cares about International Superstar Soccer 2000?
No one cares about it. That's the best part.
Yeah, the market has changed. Like he knows that it's like funny to him that he invested in that. But that's what happens when you try to predict the future, basically.
Okay, so here's one, and this used to be like a banger, but this is about a system that few people, at least in North America, really get excited for, is Buster Douglas on the Sega Master System. This is still the upper echelon game there. Sonic stickers be damned, doesn't matter. Buster Douglas is still the reigning champion here.
Yeah,
right? And that like I think it's like around $1,200. Don't quote me. This is like an old price, but last time I looked, it was around $1,200. Sure. You can get it for like $6 sometimes. The price on this varies kind of wildly, but it is usually still the most expensive game. Another one that we talked about not so long ago, Tyler's favorite thing, Disney Sports Basketball.
$1,000, Johnny.
At least $1,000.
Not super
what
vintage,
happened?
not cardboard, not anything. It's just $1,000 because why not? People want their GameCube sets.
Get them. Like, does Disney have any? I always put like some value in the Disney name, like that drives people to collect it, but I don't understand this one at all. But still, it's weird.
You know, I could be wrong, but when I'm collecting a set, I generally look at like a licensed game, like a Disney game, and I think kind of less of it because I'm usually judging things based on gameplay value, I guess. Or like series, but like video game series. So like a Halo game is more exciting to me than a Disney game because I know that the Halo game, the series is a video game series, not a movie series. Anyway, maybe people put a premium because it's Disney, but I personally don't.
I don't. What a weird game. Well,
very weird.
It's just like you could spend $1,000 to $1,500 on this game, and that's wild to me. Anyways, we talked a lot about it before.
Yeah.
Here's one that I added to your list, and I think falls under the radar a lot. Super Copa for the Super Nintendo.
So all these other games, though, these are like top 1 or 2 games in the set. You think the Super Copa is really that close?
It's a $2,500 game to $3,000. The only one listed for sale right now, they want $6,000 for.
Okay. All right. Yeah. I mean, that's always like when people are doing Super Nintendo sets and stuff, that's always the one that's going to be left till the end because no one wants to pay that money for Super Copa.
No one wants to pay. And especially because there's a Brazilian Playtronic version that you can get for a lot less. And it's a lot easier to find complete. Also, Super Copa is not that easy to find in nice condition. The Brazilian one, always hard to find in nice condition. Even the American one, though, or, could be, let's say North American. That one, the condition, it's pretty sensitive on that one. Finding a manual for that is usually rough. And then the last one I'm going to bring up, and price question mark. And this is, for all those Game Boy Color enthusiasts out there, International Super Soccer 99. This one, I think, didn't really get released in the United States. I think it was maybe only released in Mexico. Don't quote me on this. There's probably some small areas, but you never see this game with the box. It just does not come up. If you are looking for it in the United States, you're going to have difficulties. You might find a PAL one, but actually finding the North American seal quality on this game, really tough. Nailing down a price on it, even tougher because so few of them ever come up.
I mean, I bet everybody who wants this or has it knows each other because that Game Boy Color full set squad, like, a very niche group of people really, really want this game.
Yeah, this is a game I could see that, like, somebody finds a bundle of them and then the price just drops like a rock because no one cares. But it does have this cachet of being like a genuinely, like at least right now, a genuinely rare thing. I can count on my hand how many I've seen CIB. So, yeah, I'm not just futzing around with it. This is a hard game to find. You know, I usually temper like how rare something is, but I
Sure.
genuinely find this hard to find.
All right.
Like if you go to eBay, you're not finding solds for this pretty much.
Yeah.
So
that's
anyways.
a good little sampling of stuff that's at like the top of sets. Because like you think of sports game, you're like, all right, an EA sports game is worth $3 and no one wants it. But genuinely, there is a lot of sports games right near the top of sets. If you're the kind of person who wants to spend hundreds or thousands of dollars on a video game, and for some reason you want a sports game, there is rare stuff out there for the super high end collector who wants this garbage. Our next category, Johnny, I'm going to call the underappreciated uncommons. And
Okay.
this is more for like the collector who wants to go out there and like hunt for stuff. If you're the kind of person who goes through a set list and tries to find out what games have the fewest copies on eBay, because I want to buy like the rarest stuff that I don't have to pay any premium for. Like I want the stuff that there's one copy of eBay and it's a $13 game. And I think that's a really fun way to collect, especially for modern sets where people don't really have, like the average collector doesn't have a grasp of how uncommon an uncommon Xbox 360 game is. Like, so people have thought about games like Atari and NES for decades, so people pretty much know what's actually rare on NES, what's actually uncommon on NES. But when you get into like Xbox 360, that's 1,000 games where like people know the rarities, people kind of know the uncommon stuff, but what's Autobahn Police? That's a game that I remember buying not that long ago just because I'm like, oh, there's no copies of Autobahn Police, and that's kind of a funny game for $30. I'm going to go buy a copy of that. I don't think the average person is thinking about Autobahn Police, where the average person probably knows that Gargoyles Quest 2 is like a kind of cool uncommon NES game.
I agree.
So, in general, I think you want to look at soccer F1 games, soccer and F1 games, and kind of like on the edge sports, because you're probably not going to find as many like basketball or hockey or baseball games, but there are some. But just to give a couple examples here, Johnny, NBA Tonight 2002. So, what was I just talking about? Where someone invested in something stupid? Okay, Get the Greg Games bought ISS 2000. And he bought like a sealed copy because he thought that like people are eventually going to figure out like this is super rare and all that matters is rare games. When I was collecting the Xbox set, one of the hardest games for me to find was NBA Tonight 2002, a nice complete in box I couldn't even find. And the reason is when Xbox launched, it launched in what? Was it 2001? Late 2001 or 2002? I don't know. But in the first year, it was like the first year plus like it was like the first 14 months because there were 2 holiday seasons, but there were like 9 basketball games on the original Xbox in the first year of its life. And the one that slipped through the cracks was NBA Tonight 2002. Just a nothing basketball game in a world where there were just like too many licensed basketball games on the Xbox. And like, who cares? It's a $10 game. It's never going to be a thing. Do not buy a sealed copy. Do not hoard copies of NBA Tonight 2002. But when you buy one, you're going to pay nothing for it. And you're going to be like, oh, cool, I got this uncommon game that no one cares about.
So buy them, as many as you can right now. Drive the price up. The market will be euphoric.
Yeah.
All right.
All-Star Baseball 99 and like 3D Baseball on Saturn, I think are good examples of like games where the average person would look at them and be like, all right, it's a Saturn sports game. But then you realize like, oh, there's no copies of All-Star Baseball 99 out there. And then kind of getting towards the higher end of things, Johnny, International Superstar Soccer is like a game that really sticks out to me in collections. If you have a nice copy of International Superstar Soccer, especially like complete in box, I generally think like, damn, you found it. You're the man.
You did it.
So
this is the Super Nintendo copy.
This is on Super Nintendo. Yeah. The first International Superstar Soccer, not deluxe. So this is definitely appreciated because people know this is a rare game, but no one ever wants to pay like top tier prices. People don't want to pay like Hagane prices for an International Superstar Soccer or Aero Fighters because those are like fundamentally cooler games. But it's just like every every cartridge of International Superstar Soccer, it looks like it was just like dragged through the mud. And I don't know why, but like the label that they used on this
Just
game is
awful.
just garbage.
Were these only produced in Mexico?
I don't know. But it's one of those things where like when you find it for sale, sometimes it's from Mexico.
Yeah. I mean, just if we're looking at target markets for soccer games, especially then, the US was a little less. You would definitely push it closer to Mexico and Canada because, you know, those people appreciate soccer more than the US, especially during that time. I don't know if that still holds true. Soccer has become a lot more popular. It is still the world sport. Don't at me, soccer people. That's just how it was in the US in the 90s. Probably still is. Just, you know.
Hey,
whatever.
Mia Hamm got a
boring.
game.
I'm saying it. Soccer's boring. I don't like it. Boring.
All right.
Fight me. Fight me, people. I'm just throwing it down. Let's just watch
baseball's
basketball.
pretty boring, Johnny.
Baseball's
football is super boring.
Super boring. Football takes too long. It could be exciting.
At least something is always happening in soccer, even if no one is scoring goals.
Really,
like, if you're watching sports, we better be watching some basketball or hockey because they're the only exciting sports. Because something's always happening. There's always like a chance that someone might score, whereas in soccer, like no one's going to score. And in football, I'm just waiting for a play to start because the plays are 3 seconds long and it's all downtime.
Yeah, it's too much down. The play, like NFL makes a good clip, you know, on a YouTube short. Doesn't make a great watching experience, in my opinion. Takes too long. Basketball, it's like it's built for TV. You get just beautiful angles, just cool stats. Love it. Baseball, kind of hard to watch what they're doing. NHL, I don't think they've mastered how to get TV cameras to capture how good hockey looks in person, like versus TV. Yeah. In soccer, the pitch is just so
clearly
big.
The most exciting TV sport, at least to me. I don't really watch any sports, but the one thing I do watch on like YouTube, if like it comes up on just like my home feed, I'll watch like basketball highlights because they are very exciting usually.
Yeah, agree. I mean, and I'm super biased. I love some basketball. Anyways, that's enough interjection there. But yes, International Super Soccer, super condition dependent, always looks bad. I hope you have a nice one. I want a nice one. Mine is garbage.
Mine's okay. Mine's pretty good because it is a game that like I've always kind of liked this game because it is so condition dependent. So I waited to get a pretty nice copy.
I mean, I think we talked about it on the show when you were buying it, like how long you looked.
Yeah,
to get it.
Yeah. And like this is another one of those games where like if someone's collecting the Super Nintendo set, no one like the last 7 games they have, it's always going to be an International Superstar Soccer, and it's not just because they don't want to shell out the money for it. It's because every time one comes up, they're like, I'm going to wait for a nicer one. And just like it never shows up because the nice ones are always complete in box and like always super expensive. And if someone's just like collecting loose Super Nintendo, like they're never going to find the right copy for the right price is kind of the deal with this game. So now nice copies are like $150 loose and $700 plus complete, depending on the day, basically.
All right. So I want to dispel a rumor that I put out just like 10 seconds ago. I just looked at copies. I see them made in Japan and Mexico. And but like, it's normally weird because normally if it's like from Japan, usually they get the nicest labels. Not here.
1990 soccer kids just did not care about their games. Everyone was just like, whoa, look at the edge of this label. And they just like rubbed it against a table until like the whole edge came off. That's every copy of International Superstars.
I just don't understand. Like, it has to be a production. This has to be a quality issue, like a quality control issue here that happened for this game out of Konami.
I mean, maybe, but like the same thing with like
They're
Mega Man
all bad.
X3. Like, why does every copy of Mega Man X3 look like garbage? Unless you find like the one perfect complete in box copy where like clearly an adult owned this and kept it really safe forever. Like all the Mega Man X3 cartridges look like garbage. What happened? Because like what happened? Like I wasn't like a careful kid. Like I've told stories that when I bought a Nintendo 64 game, I literally ripped the box in half. But all my cartridge labels looked fine because I kind of babied them and kept them on a shelf. What were people doing? Were they throwing them across the room outside?
I don't know. I don't understand. I don't understand how this happens to games. Oh man, there's a really nice one. Someone wants $3,000 for it. Looks super good though.
Go get your $3,000. Except this is definitely a game where like everyone who cares is eventually gonna be happy with their collection and stop caring about it one day.
Yeah, or you could just buy a shitty one for $300. How much do you care about the condition? Actually, there's like an okay one for $300 on eBay right now.
Complete?
Oh no, that's deluxe. Sorry.
Yeah, see, that's what always also gets you, because the deluxe deluxe is also very condition dependent, but it's definitely way more available than the original.
Yeah. And so that's another thing to note. There's International Superstar and then Deluxe. And if you're looking for where it says Deluxe, it looks like a basketball that says Deluxe on it in a soccer game. I don't know. I don't understand what's happening.
Well, I mean, they're both games that have balls, so having a ball shape makes sense, Johnny.
Making a ball, it just doesn't clearly look like a soccer ball. You know what I mean?
I agree. Yes. Because it's orange, so it makes you think of basketball. 'Cause it's supposed to be like fire, I think, right?
Or gold. I don't care. But anyways, just watch out for that. Let's move on.
All right. Yeah, I'm thinking of like, man, we've been talking about a Super Nintendo game. What if someone doesn't care about Super Nintendo? And then I'm looking through like the next 7 games we're going to talk about, and it's like, oh, this is all crap from the 80s. No one cares about.
Yep, no one cares. Just wait till they hear the next section.
Oh my god, yeah. So we can't go on about underappreciated uncommon sports games. There's so many out there. Again, I would start looking in the soccer and racing genres. Especially on Xbox, I was an Xbox collector for a long time. Like all of the rarest Xbox games, and there are no rare Xbox games to be clear, but all of the most uncommon Xbox games are racing games, just because there's too many of them. It must be really easy to make a racing game.
It must be. Get that pole position.
Get that F1 pole position on. Oh, that's one we didn't bring up. F1 pole position, that was at the top of Game Boy, like right up there with the potato games for a long time. I mean, it probably still is, right?
Probably still is, yeah.
So you could find your cool uncommon games, Johnny. Now we're going to go into historical games, because Johnny, some sports games are kind of important to the gaming medium, at least in different ways. And I would say a lot of the time these games are not expensive, which is nice. I like buying fun, not expensive games, but the first one we're going to talk about is expensive. And it's a game we brought up a lot recently, because it's a game that has skyrocketed in value recently. But it is John Madden Football. Again, we're bringing up John Madden Football 1. I'm so sorry, everybody, but it's a sports game episode. We got to bring up John Madden Football.
So we're clearly talking about the championship versions, right, on the Genesis?
No, no one cares about rare games anymore. Rare games are dead. We only buy the most common games now, guys.
Oh.
So we're not talking about Championship Edition. We're talking about the computer game, or the Genesis version, each of which kind of has their merits. So John Madden Football came out on the Apple II originally. It comes in a little small gatefold box. It's got a bunch of inserts. It's got like an offensive playbook, a defensive playbook. It's got a code wheel that's used for DRM. Multiple like little advertising inserts. It's a pretty packed game. And then it comes on 5 1/4 floppy disks. And the original copy, it's like $300. The only one on eBay right now, at least when I wrote these notes, was a $4,000 buy it now. That's a pretty stupid price, but I think this is in like the low hundreds. Last I saw them actually selling. And the only thing that has going for it is that it's the technical first of a really, really big series, which is Madden. And it did the game that really pioneered the view of Madden, which is the thing that Madden did that was influential, which was the kind of the behind the quarterback view on a football game rather than the look at the entire field from the side view. That would be the Genesis
Mobile,
version of John Madden Football.
Joe Montana. This changed everything.
Yeah. So that's a much more iconic game. It's not really a port. It's really strange, because if it was a port, it would kind of look the same. But they're both called John Madden Football, so we just kind of treat them as there's the Apple II version and the computer version, which is the one thing, and then there's a Genesis version, which is really the more influential, much more popular thing. Which one do you buy? I don't know. Figure it out for yourself. Just buy both of them if you actually care about Madden. But the Apple II one's going to be hundreds of dollars, and the Genesis one's going to be like $50. So maybe just get the Genesis version.
Yeah. Maybe do that. Are you doing that?
I've got them, Johnny. The Genesis one, it was originally released in a cardboard first release. Did we just talk about this? And then
we did.
Later, it came out in a clamshell without a UPC, which is called the promotional release, but the date codes are like 2 years after the game released. So I have no idea what's going on with the clamshell release of Madden.
I also talk about this with Daddy Mulk in our bonus content episode in our After Dark. So, because we talk about Genesis variants. So,
Okay.
if you want to hear about John Madden, wow, this month and a half of Collector's Quest is your time.
All right. John Madden Football. Johnny, it's $50. Go get a Genesis copy of John Madden Football. Why not? It's an important game. Real quick, it's $100,000 if you want it sealed, so good luck with that. It was also ported to PC, Commodore, Amiga. Forget all those versions. The John Madden Football on Super Nintendo, there's a game called John Madden Football on Super Nintendo, or is it just Madden 92?
Yes. No, it's John Madden Football.
Okay, that's not John Madden Football, though. That's like the sequel to the real John Madden Football. Or it came out like a year later.
Okay.
Oh, no. Okay, so the SNES version and the Amiga version is an upgraded version of the Genesis version. So maybe it's not like a different year, but it is an upgraded later release. So it's not like it was a game that was released on Genesis and Super Nintendo. It was released on Genesis and then worked on and ported to the Super Nintendo with more stuff. So I would say that the SNES version is not an important, exciting game. The Genesis version is the important, exciting game, which is how everyone would look at Genesis and Super Nintendo. People look at Super Nintendo and they're like platformers, RPGs. People look at Genesis and they're like shooters, sports games.
I have a question for you.
What's up?
Just to see if I can shoehorn in John Madden Championship Football 1993 from Blockbuster. Is it the earliest rental exclusive? Is it the historical first rental store exclusive?
I mean, it's sure got that badge on it that says rental exclusive.
Yes, and it came out in 1992. The other early versions, there was like a UK Mr. Nuts that was like 1993 or something. We get all the stuff on N64, including another football game, Blitz Special Edition. And you have people who say like Hagane and Ren and Stimpy and Eek the Cat, but those are all like 1994. Was there anything that was a rental store exclusive before 1992?
So this is unknowable, Johnny, and we're definitely never going to have the answer to this question because so many of the games that people call rental exclusives simply are not rental exclusives. And maybe it was something that was largely rental exclusive or it started rental exclusive, but I see these games like Hagane or whatever that people called rental exclusives, and they have like a KB toy sticker on them. And it's like, oh, guess it wasn't just a Blockbuster, huh? Because there's a KB toy sticker right there.
Well, I mean, here's the other thing. It may have been a rental exclusive, but at the end of the day, a warehouse with a bunch of dead stock isn't just going to be like, well, those are rental exclusives. We're never going to sell them.
Yeah.
They're going to put them out to B-tier distributing lines like KB Toy Store, consider like wholesale or outlet stuff. Like those supersede exclusiveness, or they circumvent exclusiveness because it's like when an item becomes out of the general stock pool, out of its lifetime, then it's like we just have to get rid of this kind of stuff.
Yeah. So,
but I'm just saying it could be the first denoted rental exclusive.
Yeah. So when it comes to rental exclusives, I'm generally not going to consider something rental exclusive unless it literally says on the box, rental exclusive, Blockbuster exclusive, that kind of thing, which a bunch of games do, but it is a much smaller pool than the entire group of games that people call rental exclusive.
Yeah. Like Eggs of Steel has one that mentions that it's a Blockbuster game, but I think there's a regular version as well.
Okay.
For the PlayStation 1.
I mean, so you're right. Madden Championship Edition might be the first rental exclusive. Certainly the most gussied up rental exclusive in this fucking gold box. Like, they made it look like it's called Championship Edition. Like, they really made it look like something. They wanted you to rent this version of Madden.
And there's an alternate version that doesn't say that. So that's why I said denotes rental exclusive.
Sure. What a historic reason to buy that game, Johnny.
Yep. Also, Freestyle Soccer, if you want another Blockbuster exclusive sports game.
Yeah, exactly.
Or 9 holes of Christmas golf.
Blockbuster logo. I think the Razor scooter on N64 says Blockbuster on it. If I'm
you have
mistaken.
Outlaw Volleyball, Outlaw Golf, Holiday Golf. Come on, there's lots of Razor Sports Freestyle Scooter. Come on, get those sports games. They're exclusives or they're denoted rental games. Enjoy. Anyways, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for that tangent. Move us on.
No problem. I just wanted to talk real quick about a funny game that I think that has completely collapsed. Johnny, it is John Madden Duo CD Football.
Oh, tell me more about what is this system that you're talking of?
We're talking about the Turbo Duo, the CD add-on to the TurboGrafx 16. There was an exclusive John Madden game for it, Johnny.
I seem to remember you being on a podcast recently.
No
and being
one
asked
listens
about,
to, you can't make references to the LJM podcast. No one listens to LJM.
Listen to the LGM podcast. See, you can just do advertising for them.
Okay, yes.
And you had a special appearance on LJN. So if you guys want more Tyler, listen to the latest episode of the LJN podcast.
Okay, yes, with the Retro Gem Miner. It was about video game investing. What an episode.
On your birthday.
Johnny, John Madden Duo CD Football. I believe that is the full and complete name of this video game. This is not a port of John Madden Football. Not even like a fakey upgraded advanced port like the Genesis version that became its own thing. This is another John Madden Football game. But if you notice, it is not like John Madden NFL Football. It's fucking John Madden Duo CD Football because they don't have the NFL license. And if you look at if you go on like Wikipedia or Moby Games and you look up the Madden NFL series, this game isn't on it because that's how bullshit this game is. Although it is an exclusive, which, whatever, TurboGrafx exclusive, that makes it maybe something. One of these sold in 2022, 1 year ago, 9.8A sealed copy, $2,000 by someone who's like, I'm getting a sealed Madden. And a couple weeks ago, one in 9.6B+, I will recognize that is a worse grade, numerically one step down and alphabetically one step down, sold for $65. That is quite a hit to John Madden Duo CD Football. Don't buy John Madden Turbo Duo Football, whatever it's called.
Sometimes you just have to, complete the set.
You have to complete what? Your sealed TurboGrafx set?
Your John Madden set. Look, if you're collecting every Madden game, there are Madden collectors. 100% there is. This is like, they probably thought it was a weird one. I don't know. I can't justify this, Tyler.
Okay. All right. So that's our first historical game, Johnny. John Madden Football, obviously. FIFA International Soccer is the other one, which is an easier game to collect, I will say, because it doesn't have all these different versions. There's no computer original, then it was ported to the Genesis. FIFA International Soccer on the Sega Genesis, that is the game. The original FIFA game is the Genesis game, and everything else is a port. The PC version's a port, 3DO is a port, Super Nintendo's a port. Just forget all of them. You don't want that. You want the Sega Genesis version. I would call, and we're talking about some of these crazy sales. This Madden sales, $100,000 Madden. I would call a sealed early release of FIFA very rare because this comes up for sale all the time on Heritage Auctions and they're all late prints. So the first release of FIFA, it says EA first round on it. It comes with a little gold badge on the case and a serial number, which EA did for a lot of Genesis games. But they just tell you like, hey, this is the first print. Here's your serial number, which is great. And you look at the Wad of Pop report and there's like 60 of them sealed and 2 of them are first prints. But for us normal people out there, we can just go get a complete in box for $30-$40. And if you don't need it like 100% complete in box, it's way cheaper than that. But the exciting thing about FIFA, Johnny, what's the exciting thing about FIFA?
There are no exciting things about FIFA, except it has a very collectible pack-in. One that we endorse here on the Collector's Quest very highly. It's super of its era. It's a POG.
Oh my God. Johnny, is this a generic POG that just says EA Sports on it?
No, it sure isn't.
Oh man.
This is which you can find in other games, but this one is exclusive. Do you want an exclusive POG for your Genesis collection and your POG collection? Sign me up, Tyler.
Absolutely sign me up. This was a 1994 promotion that EA Sports did. They had, I think, 5 games.
Oh shit!
It was like Madden, NHL 94, all the 94 games came with POGs, and FIFA International Soccer was one of them. And it came with an exclusive POG because it didn't say EA Sports on it, or I think one side might say EA Sports and the other side says FIFA. And some of the games just had EA Sports and then nothing on the back. So anyway, it's got an exclusive POG. I think it's fucking fantastic. It is not super easy to find, but when they do come up, Probably 30, 40 bucks, I would say, maybe 50 bucks if you want one with the Pog.
Yeah, unfortunately, if you want the Pog, this is one where you're going to have to like open up every eBay auction and look inside, because a lot of people don't advertise that the Pog is in there. Most people don't even notice. They're just like, oh, here's all the shit that's in here, and then they show a picture of the Pog, but they don't acknowledge it.
Yeah. And, we just made an episode on like underrated and overrated things, and we went like underrated inserts. Just like inserts in general are underrated because FIFA is a game. It is on eBay. Like this first round, first print stuff, they are on eBay. You will find FIFAs, but every single copy is missing the Pog. And this is the type of game where, like, if someone has a FIFA, they don't want to, like, auction it. They just want to get rid of it. So they're just putting up a buy it now. So even if someone recognizes they have a Pog and there's, like, no other Pogs on eBay, it's the type of thing people are like, oh, I got the Pog. I guess I'm going to list this instead of $12. I'm going to list this for $23. And it's just like, that doesn't feel like a high enough premium considering that there are 100 other copies that don't have the Pog. And I don't think the Pog should be worth like $75, but I think it's a cool thing that you can get for cheap is what I will say.
You can. You sure can. And you can. There's also the a variant out there, and it's got the tournament, the 4-way play series sticker, so you can get that variant. Go find all the variants for FIFA. Hey, you know what? If you want to condemn yourself to a life of hell and misery, please go look at all of the EA Sports variants and try to figure it out. Enjoy. Report back to me.
Speaking of the Pog, Johnny, there's a merch variant that comes in the 1994 EA Sports Genesis games, and the earliest prints of that insert show a Pog, and the later prints of that insert is the same picture without the Pog in it. So
EA
the
games
merch, the stupid like mail away to get a t-shirt postcard has a Pog variant.
You know what else you should be obsessed with? The lowest serial number on that sticker.
Ooh. Have you been talking to VG Collectaholic?
And there's A and B stickers, so just saying.
So the serial number, I think it's 5 or 6 digits, and it has a letter in front of it. And the people I've discussed this with, we think that having no letter is the earliest serial numbers, and then it goes A, B, C, D, E, F, G, like up to like I, L. It goes really far. There were a lot of quote-unquote first prints of these EA Sports games because they're EA Sports games.
They
sold a
kept
ton.
printing them.
Yes.
It's like after the first print, they kept printing them with that sticker. But then there are also versions of it without that sticker. So what the just
millions and millions of these EA Sports. Probably not millions and millions, but however many there were.
I think A and B stickers are the most common.
Okay. That makes sense because every game would have probably up to A and B at least. But if you want to hunt serial numbers on these EA Sports Genesis games, if you find it without a letter and get as low of a number as possible, that would make it the coolest. And I've talked about this with VG Collectaholic. I think he has, it's like an NHL 94 or a FIFA. It's one of these games, and he's got like something in the 70s, like a 2-digit serial number on this thing that has like hundreds of thousands of serial numbers. I think that's pretty cool. If you want to hunt for serial numbers, I fully endorse doing that. I think that's awesome.
I mean, I would definitely look at that picture, but you would only get 3 likes on Instagram, so be careful.
Oh, yeah, I mean, you can't get clout. You can get clout with me. I'll send
absolutely.
you all the emojis you want.
Yeah, I'll give you better than an emoji. I'll give you a written response, and I will heart or emoji your picture as well.
Okay, great. Johnny, speaking of historical games, FIFA, the historical start of the I don't know how big the FIFA sports franchise is. One of the biggest sports franchises ever.
Also one of the most corrupt organizations in the whole world.
Absolutely.
Anyways, yeah, just
Fuck
dog
FIFA.
shit. Yeah. Anyways,
Johnny, what was where did FIFA come from though? What was FIFA a response to?
Oh, I don't know. Is this trivia? I wasn't prepared for trivia.
EA Sports was like, we're making sports video games. Let's look at Europe and what are they doing with them soccer games? And FIFA was more or less based on Sensible Soccer, which was the smash hit early 90s computer game, Amiga game, in Europe. It's basically the inspiration for FIFA, but more than that,
I thought you were talking about the organization of FIFA. No, like where I'm like, whoa, are we going this deep? I didn't know.
No, I don't know anything about the organization of FIFA. All right.
I'll bet. And by the way, it's the Federation of International Football Association.
Thanks, Johnny. We didn't know what FIFA was.
Look, you fucking say that, but there are a lot of people who did not know that because they are in the U.S. and they don't care about soccer.
Okay, yeah, we've been talking about a soccer game this whole time on the Sega Genesis. Yeah. Just so everyone knows, you're right. All right, we do sometimes not explain the basic things that we think everybody already knows. Yeah. Sensible Soccer, though. Is
this important?
It is important. I don't have to assume that people know what it is because I'm going to read my first bullet point directly here. I don't care if you hamburger Americans haven't heard of it. It's on a stamp. Great Britain put out a stamp with Sensible Soccer on it. They put out a stamp series with all these like classic UK developed games, and it's next to Elite, Tomb Raider, Lemmings, Wipeout, and Dizzy is Sensible Soccer. It's an arcadey soccer game. It's got a really zoomed out perspective with really tiny little dudes running around. It plays really fast. Man, if you haven't played any of it or seen any of it, I don't want to compare it to like a much, much better, faster version of NES Soccer, but you could think of it from that perspective and sort of that style of gameplay. Also, World Cup Soccer 94 on Sega CD is a version of Sensible Soccer, which I believe Johnny told me at some point, and that blew my mind.
You're welcome.
So, Sensible Soccer. This was just like a complete smash hit computer game. Everyone who had an Amiga was playing soccer because everyone in Europe loves soccer, I guess. But if you want a copy of Sensible Soccer, oh my God, is it cheap? Like less than £10, complete in box, big box for a Sensible Soccer. But there are a lot of them. So you don't want the limited edition. You might think you do because you're like, oh, limited edition? No, that's an updated re-release. You don't want that one. You don't want the one, there's a silver or gold sticker that says 1992/3 season edition, even though the game came out in like 1992. No, you don't want that one. You want the first one with no sticker, no limited edition, no season. You want Sensible Soccer European Champions. This game costs nothing. It's an all-time classic. I would not be surprised if the Strong Museum one day puts it into their video game Hall of Fame. If it's not already in there, I think it's a sports game very much worth owning. Also, the sequel, Sensible World of Soccer, a very popular sequel. I have some Australian friends that I talked to a lot more 10 years ago, but they would not shut up. This was like the mid 2000s, and this game came out in the early 90s, but they just wouldn't shut up about Sensible World of Soccer. That's like, they brought it up in every gaming conversation that we ever had. So, popular in Europe, popular in Australia. No one in America's ever heard of it. I think it's a very cool game. Costs nothing. Next time you're putting in an order from the UK, add a copy, I would say.
I could agree with that. Yeah, that's fine. I mean,
it's fine.
Sure. It's fine. Look, man, I'm trying my best to be excited about soccer.
It's on a stamp.
I don't care about stamps.
Like,
look,
30 video games ever that have made it onto stamps.
I want to contextualize stamps for you. There's a lot of horrible imagery on stamps that I wouldn't want to be associated, like with Joseph Stalin. Joseph Stalin is on a stamp. Okay,
Hitler's on stamps. Tyler, what the fuck? What's wrong with you?
So I don't know if just being, look, I understand that means some large event. It is notable for a reason. I will give it that. It's just a soccer game though to me. And one I had to buy for the PAL collection of Super Nintendo games. So, woo, soccer, let's do it.
All right. So apparently it is. It pioneered its kind of arcadey, very good control style of soccer games. I don't know enough personally about like what soccer games were like before Sensible Soccer, so I can't really personally speak to its historical importance in the genre. But if Sensible Soccer is the game that like made soccer games really good, like the ones before it must have been dog shit.
I mean, did you ever play the one on the NES?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, NES Soccer is a grueling video game that maybe didn't sell well for more reasons than it just being an unpopular sport in America.
Interesting. All right. Let's move on to the one I am excited to talk about, even though it's soccer, because I have questions.
Damn, we're doing 3 soccer games in a row. That's nuts.
I know. We hate people. We talked about Madden and then we went into soccer.
Oh no.
We know our audience here on the Collector's Quest podcast.
All right. What do you got for me?
No, just tell me what the next one is, and I'm going to interject my questions like I do with everything.
Okay. Johnny, I'm talking about Pele's Soccer for the Atari 2600, which,
Pretty important.
as far as I know, is the first licensed athlete sports game, which is not what Wikipedia said in the research for this episode.
No.
So,
do you remember what the Wikipedia article said? I think
we're bringing it up live because, like, I'm not saying
it was atrocious.
We don't do all our research on Wikipedia, obviously, but I do bring up the Wikipedia pages for things that we talk about. And sports video game, Mattel's, it says the EA Sports first sports game for home computers, Dr. J and Larry Bird Go One-on-One, was the first licensed sports game based on the names and likenesses of famous athletes. Except for Pele's Soccer on Atari 2600, which came out in 1981. So Wikipedia is just making up facts like ChatGPT.
It was probably written by an American.
This is an American game.
I'm just saying, they couldn't remember that soccer existed. They're just like, oh, shit, we didn't think of soccer.
I guess, sure.
Okay, so I have a question, because this one, it is Pele Soccer, but what about Championship Soccer for the Atari?
All right, so this confused me at first, too, because I used to think these were different games. So this game is actually Championship Soccer, which was, it's a soccer Atari game, so complete garbage. And it was released with an endorsed by Pele sticker on it, which is fantastic. I love it. But then they took the sticker and then they're just like, no, this isn't endorsed by Pele. They re-released the game as Pele's Soccer. And so it's the same game under two different names. I absolutely love it. Okay,
so does that discount it from being the first licensed one since it was already a game pre that?
So I don't know when the re-release was, but the re-release couldn't have taken like 3 years, right? Especially they wouldn't have done that after 1983.
I think Championship Soccer was like 1980, right?
Was it? All right.
I think it was 80.
I don't know. I don't have...
I think Pele was 81.
Okay. Either way, it's before the Dr. J game on Commodore 64 or whatever.
Yeah, I'm just saying though, but because it wasn't made specifically for Pele and they just like kind of did the switcheroo, do we still count it? Does it count?
Yes. The game is called Pele's Soccer. I'm counting
it. No, the game is called Championship Soccer.
The game is Pele's Soccer. Yeah, it's called Championship Soccer. You know what? So even if you want to go down the route of, it doesn't count, it's a re-release where they changed the name. I love that there's an endorsed by Pele sticker on Championship Soccer. So it's not just like, they paid off Pele and changed the name of the game. No, Championship Soccer was already endorsed by Pele, and then they changed the name. So
how did they get it endorsed by Pele?
I want the
this
first
story.
One, like, I bet it was so cheap for them. Because he's like, what is it? It's 1981. He's like, what, the fucking Atari game? Like, okay.
He's like, I'm
Give
sorry.
me $10,000? I don't know.
I'm busy being the best soccer player in the world. What are you asking me?
Exactly. This must have been cheap. Like, because, like, it must have been, like, the equivalent of, like, getting a likeness on, like, a coffee mug or something, right? I don't know. Yeah. Maybe not that easy, but this...
The reason I'm interested in this, as a kid in the 80s, like, you didn't know very many soccer players, but everybody knew Pele. So, as a kid, I knew who Pele was. I didn't know a lot about Pele, but I'm like, oh, that's the best soccer player, is Pele.
Yeah.
That's a thing I know.
And so... I love Pele's Soccer because it is probably, unless someone wants to fight me on it, the first licensed athlete game, and because it's Pele, and it's soccer, which is like typically not the most common sports genre for American video games. So I think it's great. I think collecting, and we're going to talk about them right after this, but I think like Michael Jordan is a good thing. Like Wayne Gretzky is fun to collect because these are things that even as not a sports fan, these are famous people that I know that have played sports that are at the absolute top of athletics.
They're the best of the best.
Yes.
I mean, and there's a lot of sports games where you get like A-list, but you don't have like the alpha prime. This is the straight up GOAT. And it's debatable whether Pele is still the GOAT or whatever. I'm not the soccer guy. There's like people are going to talk about Ronaldo and Messi and back. Like there's a bigger conversation than there was in the 80s. In the 80s, it was just Pele and he got a game. which is cool. Also, just throw out Pele is no longer with us, died in 2002. So does, if you're looking for collectibles, Death Effect, does it drive the market on his game?
Nope.
At all. Right
I'll just
now
say,
it sure doesn't.
Nope.
It did not, but you could go pick up some Pele games still relatively cheap. Look, one day someone's going to get wise, especially after we talk about this damn Pele game. Or maybe they're just going to go buy the real version, the original version, Tyler, and that's Championship Soccer.
I think you should buy both. If you care about this Pele game, buy both. Because, even Championship Soccer has the Pele sticker on it.
Yeah. I do think it's cool to own both. And the endorsed by Pele sticker is like, that's pretty cool. Because, where else do you see that? It's such a weird thing to have. It's like a video game oddity, so I enjoy it.
Yeah.
Anyways. That's why I was excited about this one, because it had a bunch of weird stuff on it.
Yeah, and to be clear, the box arts are different as well. So Championship Soccer, I think, is just a couple generic guys playing soccer, and then Pele just has Pele's face on it in the amazing Atari art style. It's great. It's great.
Yep.
These are $20 to $100. Championship Soccer definitely skews towards the $20 end. That is pretty cheap and available. Pele sometimes commands a premium for nice copies, and it's kind of not that many available at all times, and also no one is looking for it, so the price kind of swings up and down. And then for Pele, there's a European version that has 5 languages on the back, so I could just be aware there's a PAL variant to watch out for if you don't want European copies. Maybe not the worst thing in the world. Maybe you want a European Pele, but it is an American developed.
Maybe it's more exclusive because they care about soccer over there.
Yeah, they know who Pele is. Us hamburger Americans, Johnny, as I so eloquently put.
It's funny. It's you call us hamburger Americans, but Hamburg, that's from Germany. Quintessential American German item.
And we're colonizing hamburgers, okay? We're America.
Yeah. All right.
All right, Johnny. That's our historical game section. There's more historical sports games. Those maybe there's more historical ones than the ones we talked about, but those are just some interesting early in genre, early appearance type stuff. Our last category of games I wanted to talk about is the newest thing that people are even thinking about, which is first appearances and first cover appearances of athletes. We're really getting into comic book territory here.
We are.
Because we're completely saying the video game no longer matters. We will buy dog shit now, so long as it has a picture of Michael Jordan on it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can't wait to give you some examples of that besides this first appearance.
Okay. So should I just get into it, Johnny? The
first
appearance of Michael Jordan?
Yeah.
The great
Jordan
one, as you might say?
Yeah.
That's Wayne Gretzky.
The GOAT of basketball. People are going to argue over who the GOAT is. LeBron is thrusting himself into the conversation. People are still coming down on MJ. I think it's still 90-10. Everyone's going to say Jordan. I don't really care. Different eras, all that stuff.
Maybe if LeBron didn't quit during the peak of his career and go play golf. Oh, wait. Was that Michael Jordan who quit to go play baseball? Oh, wait. Wrong athlete.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. Wrong athlete. Anyways. Look, don't incite the Jordan versus LeBron people. And look.
LeBron has a contiguous career, Johnny. Michael Jordan, what's going on? Why we got 2 different careers?
Okay, well, Michael
LeBron
Jordan
never quit. He's been 20-something seasons now.
Okay, but you might also say that Michael Jordan has more championships and never lost in the finals.
You might say that. I don't know anything about basketball.
Those are some things you might say. Anyways, it's one of the most heated arguments in sports is who is the greatest basketball player of all time and who is your top 10, because guys that I might consider top 10 might be in your top 20. My top 3 might be in, below your top 5. I love it. I also find you can't actually have this discussion because basketball has changed so much over eras. It's not exactly the same. It's more, a lot has changed. It's not like baseball, which rigidly tries to be the same thing day in and day out. Basketball did a lot of changing. And look, don't at me, baseball people, you weirdo purists who are going to tell me how much it's different and the texture of the bats and what the ball is made of. I get it. I don't care. Anyways, we're talking about Jordan versus Bird. This is the first appearance of MJ.
It sure is, Johnny. It's so funny that the debate is Jordan versus LeBron, but I guess back in 1991 it was Jordan versus Bird, or that was the rivalry.
Well, no, that wasn't even really the rivalry. The rivalry was Bird versus Magic. That was the rivalry. And then Jordan came along and supplanted both of them as the greatest. And back then, most people considered not most people, but a lot of people considered Kareem Abdul-Jabbar to be the best basketball player who ever played. Or they might have said Bill Russell because he won so many damn championships. But, he played on a Celtics team against lesser competition and with less teams in the league. So he kind of had an easier path. The debate of best franchise is always Lakers versus Celtics. And, we're not going to get into that because I'm, an LA guy and I don't want to alienate a bunch of people. But Jordan came out and then just clearly rose through all of that bullshit and all that tension and just supplanted everybody and was like, yeah, Michael Jordan's the GOAT.
Johnny,
it's pretty much been there. And they kind of didn't really happen until his career stopped because no one wants to give you credit while you're still playing. It has to become a legacy conversation.
People are giving LeBron a lot of credit.
They are, and they gave Jordan a lot of credit too. It was pretty hard to deny that Jordan was just doing things people hadn't done and couldn't do. So, and LeBron, look, I'm not an anti-LeBron guy. I'm not a strictly LeBron guy either, but he's got an excellent body of work. He's been excellent for 20 years of basketball. It's longer than that, but professional basketball. He's got a crazy long career. He's done so many things. He got a scoring record, which we thought would never be toppled. Anyways, we're not talking about LeBron right now. We're talking about Jordan. Anyways, he has his own platformer. Did you know this? Does everybody know this?
Chaos in Windy City, Johnny.
That's
on
right.
The Super Nintendo.
Yeah. So here's my favorite thing about this stupid game. So there is a card for Chaos in the Windy City. Did you know this? Anyways, I don't know if you knew this. So there's this card. It does not come with the game. You have to buy the December 1994 Game Pro, and it has this insert where with it's such a shitty card too because you have to. It's one of those perforated corners of an insert to peel out, and some people just yank the whole insert out of the magazine. Just leave it in the magazine. Leave it all together. Stop this madness. But yeah, that's what you can find. And this card, if you find it perforated, it might go for $20. You find it for the whole insert, might go for $50 to $60. But most people don't know, and I'm telling you this, it's in the December 1994 Game Pro, which you can sometimes find for $60. But a lot of them, you'll see them cheaper, are the ones that have had the insert removed. So you got to make sure you ask about that Game Pro, and it has its insert. But there's also another card insert in that. So don't just say, does it still have the card in there? Be very specific. That has the Jordan and Windy City card.
All right.
So
I don't know how we got off on Chaos and Windy City. We're talking about the real shit. The game that has sold in a 9.0A, which if you're not a sealed person, I'm going to call that a pretty mediocre grade for $25,200, Johnny. Jordan vs. Bird 1-on-1. A video game that came out on the PC and Commodore 64 in 1988 and was only later ported to NES. So if you're collecting the first Jordan appearance, I understand that Nintendo games are going to have a premium, but to go from a game that probably sold for $70 tops 4 years ago, I don't know. Was anybody buying Jordan vs. Bird 1-on-1 sealed? To $25,000. This game has had quite a come up, especially on the NES.
Especially after the documentary came out, Jordan stuff right now is super hot. We're not just talking the collector bubble, but also that documentary came out at the end of that. So yeah, Jordan stuff just started to boom. Jordan memorabilia has been crazy, and I think this kind of got swept into it. And people will buy anything with Jordan on it.
Sure.
Anything. It does not matter.
Just going on these crazy sealed prices, because Complete in Box is easy for this game, but 9.6 A+, I would call that, that's an actual near mint game. Just a couple months ago went for $8,000. So the guy who bought the mediocre one for $25,000, man, that guy took a loss. But then the other interesting sealed sale.
I'm just saying, that's still an insane price.
Obviously, this is garbage. Yeah. This is Jordan versus Bird. This is a game you look at in an NES slot and you throw it in the garbage.
It's and to me, that's not even the real rivalry. And the box is such dog shit. It doesn't depict them in their uniforms. Bird is wearing just like a sweatshirt.
He looks like he was interrupted, like, and you caught him at home. He's not wearing like basketball clothes. It's crazy.
No, and they're also doing like a jump ball drill by a hoop. It's fucking awful. And like you can see part of the court, and there's like a line that shouldn't be there. I hate this cover so very much. I hate it. And they also crop here's the cool thing. They crop part of the image for the cover versus what they actually put on the label sticker and the manual. It's a small crop, but they crop it. And it's in the ugliest boxes on the NES, the Milton Bradley box.
Yep.
Just trash. Trash. Hate this game. Anyways, tell me about the computer version, and I hope it's better.
All right, I just want to say one more thing while I'm on this Heritage Auctions page. There was a Slash PC release that sold for $1,900, which compared to $8,000 and $25,000 seems reasonable. I don't know who's buying this garbage. Like that should be $20 literally. Someone is listening to this podcast who spends like ridiculous money on sealed games. And if you're interested in PC games, I'm talking directly to you right now, Mr. Sealed PC game buyer. If it says Slash on it, if it says exclusive Slash distribution, anything that says Slash, you don't want it. It is complete garbage. Low quality components, black and white manuals. These are late re-releases. They are all trash. Nobody wants Slash PC games. It's the Majesco of PC games. Do not buy Slash releases. They are budget bad re-releases. But one sold for $2,000. So what do I know? I should just be buying budget trash. Anyway.
Oh, hey, this just in, Tyler. If you want a reason to buy this game, did you know that this game is 3 games in 1?
Great. Are you reading the back of the box? What are the 3 games?
No, I'm reading
Johnny?
the front of the box.
Oh.
Yeah, you think it's Jordan versus Bird 1-on-1, but it's more than that. It's also the additional 2 Michael Jordan slam dunk contest. Hey. And Larry Bird's 3-point shootout. Oh my gosh. This is value.
Oh, okay. So, hold on. We got 1-on-1, we got a slam dunk contest, and we got a 3-point shootout. Johnny, are you basically telling me that we made a basketball game that only takes place on half the court because we're not going to make a full court basketball game?
Absolutely, I am, Tyler. You nailed it. You found it. Also, and that dumbly, if you go to the Genesis later on, there's also Jordan versus Bird, and then they're in their outfits, and it's like, yeah, a better cover, still not great, but like, just, man, the NES version is such garbage. It's only supplanted by being garbage by one other game, and that is the Tiger Electronics handheld version of this game. That also
probably the rarest version, though.
Probably.
Especially sealed.
Sealed, yeah. Yeah, like, hey, fuck the PC one. You want the rarest thing? Go get that Tiger handheld electronic.
All right.
I'm not stop buying IBM games. Tiger is where it's at.
I don't hate this game. I think Michael Jordan is an incredibly important athlete. If you want to buy the first Michael Jordan game, sure. I wouldn't spend the sealed prices on it. But basically any version of this game now, NES, PC, Commodore, they're like $40, $50. It doesn't matter what version you get. So I would get a PC or Commodore version of this. It's from the same era as John Madden Football. So it comes in a very similar box, small gatefold box, comes with a little decoder wheel. So make sure you have like all the inserts in it. And yeah, I'm totally fine if someone buys Jordan vs. Bird for $40. I think that's a fine thing to buy.
That's a fine thing to buy with you?
Basically, I mean, the way the past few years have been gone, if a game sells for $25,000 sealed and I could just go get it for $40, I'm like, yeah, I'm just going to go get that same exact thing for $40 and be happy with it. And this is definitely one of those games that did that. I'm pretty sure I've got it on NES, Commodore, and PC now.
Yeah, look, to get Jordan versus, like, to get the first Jordan cover, I get it. There's just a lot of things, you know, like sometimes the first thing is just not the coolest looking thing. It just happens to be first, and this is one of those.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. It's like a Hulk 180, which is, you know, the first appearance of Wolverine, but it's not the one with Wolverine on the cover. So kind of who cares? People want Hulk 181.
Yep.
Johnny, let's talk about LeBron, the actual GOAT.
Hold on. You don't want to talk more about the Windy City?
I'm sorry. Let's continue to talk about Space Jam and Chaos and Windy City and Michael Jordan In-Flight, all these other Michael Jordan games.
Oh, yeah.
Are you joking? Did you actually have more to say about that?
No, I mean, you did put an interesting note about Michael Jordan and his baseball career. Is there a first appearance of Michael Jordan, the baseball player?
Oh, yes. Okay, I did skip around a bit. Yes, I searched. I wanted Michael Jordan to be in a baseball game, even as like a joke. Like I was so sure that someone that year would just like put Michael Jordan on the White Sox. So he was on the White Sox, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Chicago.
I was looking at Sega Genesis games that had licensed players in it, and it was like World Series Baseball was the only game that year that had a licensed player roster, and Michael Jordan isn't in it. And I realized he was only in one exhibition game with the White Sox in the majors, but come on, guys, he's Michael Jordan, he'll sell your game. Just put him in the game. They didn't put him in the game. And so that's the year that we got Chaos in Windy City instead.
And as a parallel, so one, that's why I find the Windy City card interesting so that you can go get. But in baseball card collecting, when there was a Jordan rookie card for baseball and that became very popular, it's not very expensive, but it is a thing that became popular.
I mean,
people were excited for that card.
Yeah, like Topps knew, like people are going to want the weird Michael Jordan baseball card. We're clearly going to make this a card. The video game people like, yeah, we can't sell Michael Jordan in a baseball game. That the sanctity of the game is in jeopardy because he's not the greatest player of baseball there ever was.
Yeah, I think there are versions of that card too that are quite expensive actually. So, depending on what you're getting. I think you can find like the upper deck one for like $15, but I think there's like other versions, like maybe the PSA graded, like weird versions got expensive.
All right.
And they keep printing Michael Jordan cards, like baseball cards in like later sets as like throw-ins, just because it's Michael fucking Jordan.
I mean, yeah. Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
I mean, he's alive. They can get autographs from him and he'll clearly sell the product. Yes. Obviously they keep making Michael Jordan cards.
Yeah. Just for baseball, which is, I think, hilarious.
I guess
we're not talking basketball. It's just baseball cards.
Oh, that's weird. Okay.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like they keep that like very limited supply of like of his time in baseball. You will still find like refractor Michael Jordan, like bullshit like that. They just print them in these.
Whatever,
like,
I'd want them.
sets.
Yeah, that's a weird thing that happened. I'd be so in.
Yeah. Anyways.
Also, Johnny, there's a Space Jam game on PS1. That's a pretty big Michael Jordan property. Also a pretty big LeBron property. I don't know if they made a new Space Jam game. And then
I don't know.
On PC. So technically, he's the title of Jordan vs. Bird 1-on-1, but he's sharing that with Larry Bird. If you want a Michael Jordan video game, you can get Michael Jordan in Flight, his own PC basketball game, unique engine. It is truly horrible. The box looks kind of cool. It's kind of an all-black box showing Michael Jordan jumping, but that game is completely worthless if you want to get something cheap.
Yeah, but you can go get it. It's there.
Johnny, on to the GOAT. LeBron James.
Oh, it's weird that you're taking a stance as a LeBron guy, and I don't know why.
I don't know. I don't care either way, honestly.
Because you think I'm a Jordan. Because I came out and said Jordan, and you're just like, I'll be a contrarian.
No, I don't know enough about basketball. I do like the idea. You said it. Like those earlier guys, your Bill Russells, your Wilt Chamberlains, they weren't playing against the caliber of the modern NBA. So I think when people get excited over like Babe Ruth, it's like, okay, but like, was he just playing like whatever chuckleheads were playing baseball back then compared to like,
oh, I'm playing against plumbers. This is nice.
Right? And now you like have people who have trained literally their entire lives just to play baseball. They're hopped up on drugs. They have the perfect diet, the perfect workout routine, like multiple doctors and personal trainers. Like that's the entire league now. And like, okay, like Babe Ruth went and he was better than like some guys. Is how I feel. I don't know how good baseball was in like the 1910s, but I know it was nowhere near the 2010s in terms of the athleticism involved. Babe Ruth was kind of fat.
Yeah. Well, there's been other like modern day fat baseball players. It's a thing.
I know.
And there's a guy who pitched a perfect game while fucking still drunk. So, which is crazy. Like you should read up on that. It's amazing.
All right. Anyway.
But, yeah, like Michael Jordan, also, like if you want to get into, like Michael Jordan played in like the second era of like basketball, or maybe the third, depending on how you want to break it out, where things were becoming more modern and athletes were conditioning better, but it still wasn't the same as it is now. And this is why eras are hard, because rules change. So Michael Jordan, didn't face many double teams, which seems insane if you look at modern basketball team where you like pretty much you find ways to rotate a double to the best player constantly, just constant rotating defenses and swarming on the best player to get the ball out of their hands. And that's not something that happened to Jordan, but he fought against defenses that were allowed to basically punch you in the face without getting called for fouls, the hand check rule. So there's this tug and pull that happens on like what happened in each generation of basketball that makes saying who the clear GOAT is very hard.
I mean, that's why Shawn Michaels is better than Roman Reigns, because, back in the WWF, they used to be able to do a chair shot to the head, and now in the current WWE, it's only chair shots to the back. Shawn Michaels had a lot more to deal with back then.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you know what? When talking about anything, you should definitely lean on your knowledge of wrestling and how well it's gone over on the Collector's Quest.
Johnny, let's get on to this freaking LeBron topic.
Tell me about LeBron.
Maybe the most interesting thing we have to talk about, because it's definitely the newest and most niche and like weirdest thing that's going on in sports games. So, Johnny, the first LeBron James cover appearance on an NBA game is NBA 2K14. And as you would imagine, this game is outrageously common, even sealed. It is worth $0. It's $10 complete in box, $50 sealed. I even went into the history. I watched multiple YouTube videos of just like bros, like NBA game bros ranking the NBA 2K games, and like they're going over the differences in the career mode and like what changed with the passing this year. Oh my God, it was so boring. I was trying to find a reason that NBA 2K14 could in some way be considered an important game. And I was specifically thinking because NCAA 14 was like the end of the college football game. So like maybe this was a year like right before microtransactions or right before they screwed something up. No, NBA 2K14 just doesn't matter. I couldn't find a single person who placed it in like the upper echelon of games or called it important at all. It is just a game that has LeBron James's face on it. Is this worth collecting? Could this ever have enough demand to be worth collecting?
Hold on. I'm trying to wrap. I just realized that the year. This is NBA 2K14?
Sure is.
1-4.
LeBron was like 2003 or 4, right?
Yes.
Yep.
What? That's the first time he appeared on the cover of a game?
Am I wrong?
That seems wrong. That's 10 years.
All right.
He was the most hyped basketball player to come out of college, or not out of college, but into the draft, like ever. Still, like Victor Wembanyama right now, they're trying to conflate but everyone knew he was going to be there. And he did this rare thing where there was like the world's greatest hype on him, and then he exceeded it. So for him to just be like, this is first cover 10 years after he began basketball as a professional, after he'd won it, that just seems wild.
All right, Johnny, let me go through the 2K covers. We've got, in 2003, it was Allen Iverson, followed by Ben Wallace, followed by Shaquille O'Neal.
Ben Wallace got a cover before LeBron? Are you fucking joking me right now?
2K7 is Shaq. 2K8 is Chris Paul.
Ugh,
2K9 is Kevin Garnett.
Chris Paul?
2K10 is Kobe.
Paul is trash.
2K11 is Michael Jordan. 2K12 is Larry Bird. Oh no, it also had Magic Johnson and Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan getting 2 years in a row. 2K13, we got 3 different people, Johnny. We've got Blake Griffin, Kevin Durant, and Derrick Rose. No LeBron.
Are you kidding? Are you kidding me? Are you kidding? Those guys don't rank in the top 50, and you're fucking. This is LeBron fucking James.
And then finally, after that, we got LeBron James.
Maybe he cost too much money. Maybe he was just like, nah, I'm not doing this. What the fuck, man? This can't be real. There's got to be some
money.
niche
They got
game.
Michael Jordan twice before they got LeBron, so come on.
I just like Chris Paul. Ben Wallace, Blake fucking Griffin, career falls off a cliff after 12 years. Give me a break, man. I didn't know I cared this much, but now I fucking feel slighted somehow, and I don't know why. I'm not even a LeBron guy, but this just feels fucking weird. I don't like it. There's some computer game, a Game Boy game, something has to be there, Tyler. This can't be it.
I mean, I didn't look super deep into this. I'm just kind of taking what everyone's saying on this. But I did look into the 2K covers. He is the first 2K cover, at least. But I think this is his first cover appearance on a game.
That
is this worth? So, all right, let's take whatever technicality aside. Maybe he does have some other stupid appearance no one cares about.
No, you might just be right. I'm reading Bleacher Report and saying it's the first time he'll grace the cover of a video game. And I trust Bleacher Report to do their research. What the why? Okay, go on. I'm going to let you talk. I'm sorry, Tyler.
No, is this worth collecting? We have talked in the past comparing video games to trading cards. And the most striking thing is that one, like, grading and trading cards is just completely accepted. Everyone's cool with it. The pop reports are enormous. Tens of thousands. I bet there's probably 10,000 graded of the LeBron James rookie card. So how common it is just doesn't matter because people want it no matter how common it is. So even though this is like the most common trash dog shit on planet Earth, it's an NBA 2K game, a game that people buy and then throw out every year. Could people ever want this game?
Yeah, I like definitely more than you want the cover with Blake Griffin on it.
Sure, yes. If the gameplay doesn't matter, I would flock towards probably one of the LeBron or, Michael Jordan or Kobe games, but, half the NBA 2K games have superstars.
And I don't think the gameplay matters in these things. I think Absolutely. If you like, yeah, I think if you're collecting this and if you are collecting first appearance of athletes, if you're in like comic book mode, right? Like first covers, this is the game to get. Like, just for instance, okay, like LeBron James at this point in his career, he's already won a finals. He's been an MVP. I think he was like a 4-time regular league MVP by this time. What else? He's been in like all-star games almost probably every year by this point. He's all NBA on offense and defense. And fucking Blake Griffin is like drafted in 2009 and doesn't play because he's hurt, doesn't even play till 2010, and basically does nothing, is like able to dunk on people. And he got a cover before LeBron, and it's not even his rookie year.
I can't get over this.
I cannot.
It has to be a money thing. I mean, there's no chance it's not.
It has to be a money thing. It's the only thing that makes sense. But like, also, if you wanted to just sell games, like this is like when LeBron, I think, is still with the Heat too. Like maybe right before he goes to Cleveland. No, he's like primetime Heat, and that's when he's maybe his least popular because he like went into villain mode for a minute. You'd love it. It was like a wrestling arc. He did a heel turn and traded teams, like, and became a Miami Heat instead of staying with his hometown Cleveland Cavaliers. It's a very wrestling-like story. Yeah, no, I look. I'm sorry. I don't have more to contribute than, yeah, you should. If you are doing this thing with sports games and considering athletes, I don't think the volume matters. I think getting a nice sealed one is the thing that will matter. The nicest version of a sealed one you can, especially since it's so cheap right now.
All right. I just want to give up something for comparison here. So sports cards are nuts, even in 2003, but there's so many LeBron rookies. I tried to find the one that's like not numbered, like the most basic LeBron rookie that's not like a signed auto patch nonsense. I think it's the 2003-2004 Topps Chrome LeBron James rookie card. There are 29,000 of these graded by PSA alone.
Holy shit.
This is like 29,000 graded. And I'm just looking on eBay.
I know, graded.
It's somewhere in like, for like, in like 8 to 10 condition, like $1,000 to $5,000.
Can you check that Blake Griffin rookie?
Oh yeah, that one's gonna be a pretty hot one. So, and like I don't know, like sometimes I see one sell for like $20,000 and it says like X Fractor. That seems like a parallel. I don't know anything about sports cards, but this is a very expensive card because it's LeBron James, obviously. But it's super duper crazy stupid common. Even if you take all of the NBA 2K14 sit in new old stock, like could we even get to 29,000? I don't know. Maybe there's that much new old stock of the stupid game out there, but. Let me go check out what NBA 2K14 has sold for sealed, because I'm sure this has been available sealed.
it's probably going to be like 25
The
to
last
$30,
sale
right?
on Heritage Auctions, Johnny. Oh, that's an
on
Australian
Heritage.
variant. Well, there was one that sold in 2021, peak of the market for $119, and then an
Oh my-
Australian one sold a few months ago for $77. So this game is currently nothing.
Yeah.
And
so-
maybe there's a hot variant. Maybe there's something you could find. Maybe there's the right version to buy. I would probably say the Xbox 360, because I'm sure this is on PS3 as well. I tend to think if it's an American property, American developed game, I swing towards Xbox. If it's a Japanese thing, I swing towards PlayStation when we're talking about multi-platform games. So I would personally buy NBA 2K14 on Xbox 360, which would be because it's also on Xbox One. I would get the Xbox 360 version. What about you? Am I wrong in that?
I don't know. I think PlayStation has more collectability in general in that era. So I would
you know
go
what?
with
If you're
PlayStation.
actually buying this, like at this point, just get both. But
yeah, I agree.
I have a really hard time caring, but then at the same time, like when I look at the sports card market and I see people are paying $1,000 for like a dog shit mass produced piece of cardboard, I could see people eventually caring about it. Video games it's the medium of our times, Johnny. They make more than movies and video games. Video games are something. This is a LeBron trading card. It's not his real rookie card, but you know what? A sealed NBA 2K14 is some kind of LeBron trading card that could have some kind of value. I could see it being worth in the hundreds one day.
Yeah, you know what I'm going to say? I'm going to say buy the PS3 version. Because that's going to be end-of-life PS3.
Okay, yeah, so this was Xbox One, PS4, Xbox 360, PS3, yeah.
And Xbox 360. If you want the largest cover, buy the Xbox 360 version.
Ooh. All right. Anyway, I mean, my stance is basically I could see these having more value in the future. I think there have been people who have bought these en masse and tried to hype it, and it hasn't worked yet. I'm personally not at all interested in this stuff compared to like the first appearance of Michael Jordan, which is like his first real thing. This feels like, okay, 10 years into his career, LeBron was finally on the cover of a video game. That feels really random, but
yeah, and it's like not his Cleveland Cavaliers uniform, which is like, you know, and I think that will matter to people, like, because Jordan, like, there's going to be some weirdo game that's going to have a Jordan Wizards cover, and that you're going to be like, oh, I got to get that Wizards variant. And LeBron, you're going to be like, well, I got to get the Cavaliers version, and then I got to get the Heat version. Then I have to get his second stint in Cleveland, and then the Lakers cover. But right now, you can only get like the Heat cover, and that's, I mean, as his first one, that's weird. I don't like that. I don't like it.
all right. I wouldn't speculate on it, but you know, if this is interesting to you, maybe buy it now because it's $50 sealed. Is probably not going to go that much lower.
True.
Johnny, after this, we've got a couple more great guys. Kobe Bryant, we've already talked about on the Death Effect episode. He kind of triggered that Death Effect episode.
He sure did.
The first Kobe Bryant cover appearance is NBA Action 98, released for the PC and Sega Saturn, and then ported to something else I don't remember, maybe PlayStation. We already talked about prices. It went from like $7 up to like $39 on the Sega Saturn
We sure
complete
did.
box. I believe there were probably a couple crazy sales of this. I'm not super into NBA Action 98, Johnny.
No, me either. I mean, it has one thing going that you can say it's a Saturn game, and those become incredibly, like, the cases are weird, so, and big, so at least it's got that going for it. It's on a once upon a time boomer collectible system. Yeah, it's still the first Kobe Bryant one. I think a better, like, there's also Kobe games on the N64. There's a Kobe 3-on-3 that's like on the Game Boy Color that has a better Kobe cover. It's got a really good Kobe cover, actually. So yeah, and this NBA Action one, it's like a classic Kobe pose, but it's kind of like far away. He's like reverse dunking. It's fine. It's fine if you want a Kobe cover. I think if this is the kind of stuff you're interested in, you're going to get multiples of this. There's Also, like you may want the jersey swap because Kobe, if you don't know, he wore two different jerseys in his career. He wore number 8 and he also wore number 24. But he only spent his time on one team. So, like with LeBron, where you're going to maybe search out covers that feature him on multiple teams, with Kobe, you're going to be like, oh, let me get that number swap. So his first appearance with the number 24 is NBA '07 The Life Volume 2. And there are different versions of the cover for the PS3, the PS2, and the Vita of this game. They all came out in like September of 2006, which is, going into the '07 season, which is when he changed it. So check those out. And then, as mentioned, with all these legacy athletes, one, Kobe's dead. So, people put some stock in the death effect. And then he's still getting covers, though, Tyler. He's getting a cover this year. Is that correct? NBA 2K24?
Yeah, it's crazy to me. So there's an NBA 2K24 Black Mamba edition, which is like the Kobe Bryant edition of 2K, which like I can understand like a memorial version like right after his death, but just like years later, it's just like, all right, here's another Kobe edition because we're digging up that grave to make more money. It feels really weird to me. I'm sure people love it, but I don't know. It feels weird to make another memorial edition sort of. God, I don't know. Still getting covers. I guess he's one of the greatest basketball players ever, huh?
That is true, yes.
So one thing I will say about NBA Action 98. So first of all, actually, let's go back to NBA '07 The Life Volume 2. I think already no one cares about first cover appearances of athletes, Johnny. And so when you're trying to get on like, here's the first appearance of his jersey change, I think we're like at least a decade out from people even considering stuff like that. Because there's 29,000 Kobe rookie cards. We got to get 29,000 graded copies of LeBron, 29,000 copies of NBA 2K14 before I can start worrying about Kobe's jersey change appearance.
Yeah, I mean, maybe that's just such a major thing for him. Do you have more, like, what else you got for that? Is that all you want to say on that? Is just, do you think,
well, the thing with NBA Action 98,
I'm too forward thinking?
The thing with NBA Action 98 is that no one cares about that. I think that like probably more people might just collect Courtside with Kobe Bryant on N64 because it has his name in the title. It feels more like a Kobe game compared to this nothing Saturn and PC game that no one played. And that's something.
I agree, and that's why I said the GBC game. I keep talking about GBC, but like it's got a really cool cover and with Kobe on it. It's got his name like on, big.
Yeah, and so that's the one thing I think 2K14 has going for it is it's like the main basketball series, and that's the first LeBron, and that feels like a little bit more important than something like Action 98 because people actually care about 2K.
I agree. I do want to just tell you guys, I want to just dive into a little bit about modern collecting for a second. And talk about these 2K games and how weird they've gotten. Because some of them you can only buy from like the 2K store, so I want to just do a comparison of the editions and just tell you like, man, just how sports cards and video games are merging. And people are like, oh, they're not the same. Trust me, we're getting there. So you can buy just the regular old 2K Kobe Bryant edition, and that's what it's called. NBA 2K24 Kobe Bryant edition. Cool. It comes with the game. It comes with like some bullshit download stuff, like some virtual currency and stuff because microtransactions. And you get then over to the NBA 2K24 Black Mamba edition. Different name. It's not called the Kobe Bryant Mamba edition. If you don't know, Black Mamba is Kobe Bryant's nickname. I think he's the only person in the world who successfully gave himself his own nickname, which is wild. But that is a thing that happened. But you want to know one of the things that comes in here? Not just, it comes with 10 box My Team promo packs. I don't know if these are digital. I think they probably are. But it also comes with a Kobe Bryant Sapphire card. That's weird, right? I don't know if that's like an actual card in there or there are digital platforms to collect cards. Topps has a whole digital platform for collecting digital sports cards and like Star Wars cards and all their other properties, which is wild to me. And then you get to the anniversary edition, which you can only get in the store. So we go from $69 to $100, and then you get this store edition, which is $150. And it comes with all that same stuff. And then, more digital things, just a League Pass subscription. It's just wild that there's this many editions of this game. Like, if you are like, I'm going to collect the Kobe Bryant stuff, you're buying 3 games. You are spending over $300 with after tax and shipping. You're at like $350, $360 on this game, easy, approaching $400 for these games. If you wanted every Kobe Bryant edition, that's modern collecting for you guys.
I think it makes sense because if you look at like EA revenue, they make billions of dollars on microtransactions now. I think they make more on microtransactions than selling video games. So if you are the person like buying 2K every year, and like if that's just your game and you buy 2K and you spend money on microtransactions in that, like that's the kind of person who will buy just like, well, I only buy one game a year, so I'm going to buy the best version. I'm going to get the Black Mamba edition, no matter what financial or collectible sense it makes to do that. Because I mean, I would do the same thing. If I was playing RuneScape and they released an expansion every year and you could get the one that came with like the fancy doodads, I'd be like, well, it's all I play, so I might as well just get the good version. I mean, the better example is World of Warcraft, because they actually do put out the fancy collectible editions of that. Because everyone's addicted to that. It's the only game they play, so you're going to buy the $200 version. You rube.
Absolutely. Yeah. Anyways, yeah, and there are a lot of other Kobe covers out there, but if we're talking about first NBA action, 98 is your first. There's been a lot of Kobe covers on various games, if that's what you're into.
Johnny, we got one more athlete that maybe someone cares about.
I love this one. Love this one.
We're going to stop with all the Americans for once. Actually, we did talk about Pele.
We talked about soccer.
Wayne Gretzky, Johnny. Johnny, I've never even looked into or cared about this because I just assumed Wayne Gretzky hockey on the NES was the first one, and I'm like, all right, well, I got that. Who cares? No. Wayne Gretzky hockey was a Bethesda Softworks game.
It is the game that made Bethesda liquid enough to do other stuff.
You're telling me that their game Gridiron, their football game, didn't put them on the map as much as Wayne Gretzky hockey did?
No, they credit Wayne Gretzky hockey as the game that did it for them. That's crazy.
I believe the quoted sales figures are like in the hundreds of thousands for this game.
At least 350,000 as a non-final result in 1994 or 5.
Okay, and that's probably summing up like Amiga, PC, NES, and everything.
Yes,
okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, game that put Bethesda on the map, the 1988 release of Wayne Gretzky Hockey on the Amiga. And then 3 years later, they came out with Wayne Gretzky Hockey 2 on the Amiga and computers. And that same year, it was ported to the NES.
Hold on. This was an Amiga game first.
By far an Amiga game first, yes.
Do people know that?
I sure didn't, because I didn't...
Sure didn't.
I didn't look into it.
Yeah. Anyways, go on.
So the NES port. So the computer game, Wayne Gretzky 1 and 2, like basically the same.
Tyler, they're so the same, they have the same stupid box art.
Oh, yes. The later print of Wayne Gretzky 1 and then the early print of Wayne Gretzky 2, I think, have the same box art.
Yes. Which is the same box art that's on the NES game.
Yes. The one with the black King's jersey.
But the early print of the NES game.
So the NES port, the name is Wayne Gretzky's Hockey, but it came out the same year they made Wayne Gretzky's Hockey 2. So it's kind of this situation, almost like John Madden Football, where is the port the same thing that it's named? Because they probably, like, this was 3 years after the original, and then it was ported the same year that Wayne Gretzky 2 is made. So most likely, the NES version is based on Wayne Gretzky 2. They just didn't want to put out a game called Wayne Gretzky 2 on NES where there was no Wayne Gretzky 1. So I don't know. I think that's kind of interesting.
Yeah, and Wayne Gretzky 2 is probably not a huge upgrade from Wayne Gretzky 1 on the Amiga, except we know by looking into the inserts, there are some versions of Wayne Gretzky Hockey 1 that have an addendum in it, so there were changes. There are multiple releases of the Amiga version, so it came out, and it's also on Atari ST and DOS, just so you guys know. But they changed the box. They, like later down the road, The games look very similar. It's like all using the same engine. It has to be a conglomerate. If it's not a straight up port of two, it's some conglomerate of both, right?
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, yes, go get your NES version, and we could talk about the NES version in a second, Johnny. But the first, the Amiga version that came out 3 years earlier, what we think is the first box art for that. It's hilarious. It shows Wayne Gretzky, and it has a banner of the Great One, and that says the Great One, and you can't see his face. His face is in a little box on the bottom corner of the box, but in the actual box art, they got a picture of him staring at the ice, which is insane because you're trying to use this guy's face to sell the video game and you couldn't get a shot of him looking at the camera. And then later on, they re-released Wayne Gretzky Hockey with the NES box art, basically, which is him in the Black Kings jersey looking at the camera so it looks like a video game box art.
Yeah, if the original box art, like, it was so bad that they had to, like, cut a picture of, like, it looks like his, like, tops photo out and, like, put it in the bottom corner of the game because they're like, see, it is Wayne Gretzky. It is right there. Because this could literally be, like, any hockey player in the 80s. That's how it looks. It's so generic looking.
It's so bad. But Johnny, the NES version is something that has interested collectors for a while. Do you want to tell us about the variants?
Sure. So, well, first, all the Amiga games have variants. So the first Amiga game has two different box arts. There is on Wayne Gretzky 2, using the same box art as the late print Amiga 1, also has a variant where there's a Canadian Cup edition where they probably did some minor changes or they just wanted to sell more games. I don't know. Anyways, so there's box variants there. So this game, what I'm getting at, just has a history of changing its box art. Wayne Gretzky 3, that has some like wild box art. That shit was like straight up 90s. But here on the NES, we have two different box arts, but we have three major variants. Don't at me at revision variants. Yes, we're aware that they're revision variants. Anyways, the first one is the one that you've probably seen. It's a black jersey, Wayne Gretzky in the Kings uniform. You know, he's skating along. He's got his helmet on. The second version is the white Kings jersey. The away jersey, no helmet, skating. Then there is a kart revision. So this is when you get to a -3 revision of this game, it's the white Wayne Gretzky jersey, except they've removed the Kings logo from his jersey. It's like a really ugly looking, I won't say Photoshop because it probably didn't exist there. It was like some guy just like colored it out with white. So yeah, you have three major variants of this game just on the NES. And yes, I have heard reports of the white, of like parts being mixed. One, by people. You might just find that your black jersey has a white jersey cart in there. So we've heard reports of incorrectly married parts, but we've also heard people saying that they found their game this way. They got it new and it came with things that didn't align. Because what Nintendo did, if they didn't revise if they revised the cart before the box, you could find mixed parts. And I don't know if like you're going to find a box with the black jersey and a no logo. I don't think so. But you know, if I was collecting this, if I was doing it, I would definitely try to get the black jersey and all the black jersey components. That includes the manual and the cart. I'd try to make everything matchy. Okay. That's how I would do. And that's my advice on that. Unless you disagree, Tyler.
I'll get the Amiga game for $25, Johnny.
Well, we're talking about people who are buying specifically the NES one. We know you would go buy the Amiga one because, spoiler alert, Tyler bought the Amiga one.
Yeah, I sure did. While doing the research for this episode, I'm like, wait, this came out on Amiga 3 years earlier? I want that. What am I doing with my stupid Nintendo copies?
Yeah. Anyways, you pose a question here, and I want you to tell me why you posed this question. Should the Canadian variant of the Gretzky games have a premium?
So, okay, I didn't look into this. Is there a Canadian variant of either the NES or computer versions? Well, yes, there is, because Gretzky 2 has a Canadian Cup variant on Amiga. So we know there's some differences in the Canadian releases here. Should they
Yep,
have a
I mean,
premium, Johnny? And I asked this because the OPG Gretzky rookie card has a big premium for the Canadian version,
so
but it
tell me
might be
what-
because the Canadian version is rarer.
tell me what O-Pee-Chee is, because that is
It's
people don't know
the
what that
card
is.
set that the hockey card set that has the Wayne Gretzky rookie sports card.
That's like the tops, right? Like,
Yes.
it's like, okay, so people know what we're talking about.
Sorry.
O-Pee-Chee is a brand.
Anyone listening at this point knows what sports are. Like everyone else is checked out. They're like sports games. This is all garbage.
Yeah, this is trash. Anyways, should it? I don't know. Should soccer games have a premium if they came from Europe?
You see, that's where that's interesting. I think it depends what you're collecting for. I could understand a sports collector wanting a Canadian release, like maybe not wanting it, but like being okay with it. Even maybe specifically hunting it out just because it is Wayne Gretzky. But the way I look at it personally, I'm more interested in the video game aspect of it, even if I'm collecting it because some guy endorsed it. Bethesda Softworks, headquartered in Bethesda, Maryland. It is an American company. So I personally would want the American version, but I don't think that's surprising because I kind of look down on Canadian versions of everything. I mean, Ubisoft is a Canadian company, and no one's collecting Canadian versions of Ubisoft games.
That's true.
Anyway, I think it's an interesting idea to get a Canadian version of a Canadian person, like a Canadian athlete, but I think we're years away from sports people even like thinking about something like that if they were buying this. I think if you were buying a Wayne Gretzky game today and you were in like the sports card market looking for something, I think you would probably get the first print black jersey Wayne Gretzky hockey sealed on NES is probably the thing to buy.
Probably.
But interestingly, for us little people, Johnny, I've always thought of the blank logo, the no logo cartridge, as like an interesting curiosity in video games in a sea of just like interesting, weird little label changes. Like there's 2 different labels of the Untouchables. Like that's cool. Who cares? But all right. Yeah. Let's get both. Why not?
Man, 2 different boxes for the Untouchables, really.
Yeah, exactly. So this blank jersey cartridge, it is not super rare. It's out there. It's the latest print of the game. You have to do a little bit of hunting to get it. For some reason, it has become kind of a thing in the past few years, and I don't know what caused it to begin with, but the latest sale on eBay for one that actually called it out by name in the title as the no logo USA-3 variant, $75. Buy it now.
Really?
And then if you look for like Wayne Gretzky white or Wayne Gretzky NES no logo, like people are asking like $200 for complete in box or like let's like $100 for the cartridge and manual. And the manual doesn't have the no logo revision. It's just the cartridge, which is bananas, but okay. Yeah, this is a weird variant that has a lot of value now, and like compared to how many variants exist in the world for everything in video games, it feels like a really random variant to have this much value.
It's true. Yeah. This game, the more we looked into it, the more curious the Wayne Gretzky series is. And also, I don't think people think about how many Wayne Gretzky games there are. I know I didn't. Suddenly I'm looking into it. I'm like, man, there are a lot of Wayne Gretzky games. And I didn't realize, like most people probably didn't even realize that Wayne Gretzky has 2 direct sequels, like Wayne Gretzky Hockey 2, Wayne Gretzky Hockey 3. I'm not talking about moving into Wayne Gretzky Hockey on the Super Nintendo or the ones that hit the N64, but like direct lineal sequels. He's got a lot of games, more than I expected. Wayne Gretzky, and then like a lot of weird variants, just weird stuff all the way down the line with the Wayne Gretzky video games. I found it very interesting.
I mean, I realize that he's like is like numerically the greatest hockey player ever, but I can't think of is there another hockey player who has anything at all?
Brett
Like,
Hull?
is there a Bobby Orr game? I can imagine there being a Bobby Orr game because he had a pinball machine, but there's no Ovechkin game. I guess we're kind of past that.
We got the hockey puck on Genesis. What do you want?
Oh yeah, what is that?
Not Brett Hull. I keep saying Brett Hull.
Man, Brett Hull
is-
has his own game too. Oh man, all right,
Yeah.
never mind. So there are other
Look up-
people.
There are other hockey players.
Where's my Ovechkin game? Because everyone knows he's better than Gretzky. I don't know what I just said because I don't really understand what I just said, but someone got mad, and I like that.
Okay. Okay.
Oshie, just so underrated, though, compared to Ovechkin, am I right? Also, I don't really know who Oshie is. I just know he plays with Ovechkin.
Why are you like this?
I don't know. Washington Capitals. They're a hockey team. My friend really likes them. He talks about, he says some of these words. I don't know what they mean.
Yeah, Mario Lemieux. Jesus Christ.
Mario Lemieux.
So
there we go.
That's the one with the
His
puck.
name's literally the best. I love it.
Yeah. Literally. And his nickname is Super Mario. Come on, guys. Just Johnny. Just remember that. All right. So these were the ones you called out as the big ones. I think we left some stuff on the table. We could do literally... there's so many more sports. Like, we didn't get into any tennis. We didn't touch boxing, which I think is crazy. We didn't get into swimming, all the sports games. There's a lot of sports games, guys. I don't know if you know this. So maybe I'm just going to throw out a couple of fun ones, just that you could collect if you were collecting sports games, and you can tell me if you're interested or not.
Okay.
Is that all right?
The answer will probably be no, because even of the categories that we're calling interesting games to collect, like, I'm still not super interested in most of these.
Well, just hear me out. And these ones are all based on people. Like, one of the things I wanted it to be based on somebody.
All right.
Okay. Chris Everett and Lindell top players tennis for the NES. Yeah.
Why would I want to collect this? Just because of the people?
Terrible. How about Andre Agassi's, or Agassi for the Super Nintendo and the Genesis?
I mean, I've got it on the Genesis, but no, I don't care.
He was pretty emblematic of the time. He was tennis's bad boy. He had a mullet and he did drugs. So that's like a thing.
Pretty cool.
And he was famous for doing like Canon photography, like commercials. Come on. You don't want that?
Nope, I'm good.
It's a lot of crossover. All right.
Sure, with the huge tennis collecting community that's crossing over into video games now. So I really think that you better get that Agassi game before people really find it out.
Okay. Tennis 2K2 with Venus and Serena Williams on the cover.
I didn't even know that there was a Tennis 2K series. Are you serious?
Yeah, but it's confusing because it's actually Virtua Tennis 2. So 2K2 had the rights for it, so it became Virtua Tennis, and then it became Tennis 2K, and then after they removed the licensing, it went back to being Virtua Tennis.
So, what? So wait, was it ever released in America as Virtua Tennis?
Yes, as Virtua Tennis 2.
But they got...
And Virtua Tennis, and then the series continues Virtua Tennis 3.
That's wild. All right, you can get that brand new, sealed on Dreamcast, the 2K2 version with Venus and Serena Williams for $10.
Yeah.
Goodbye. I'm going to say go buy that. Why not?
Yeah. Hey, look, if you're really into tennis and you want like multiple people, Virtua Tennis 3, okay, this is from 2006, so we're a lot later here, 4 years past. But you can get Maria Sharapova, you can get Roger Federer, Andy Roddick, and Venus Williams all on one cover.
I think putting multiple people on one cover makes it less exciting as a collectible.
I mean, but they're probably going to like get that first cover and you're going to be like, oh, it's a shared cover. Does that, then you get like, if you really
you want that first exclusive cover. Yeah.
So then you get the sports card first first individual cover. Yeah.
Because I think, I mean, that must be a thing in comics. Like you get like your first group appearance, but then you really want the first solo appearance, right?
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
And you hope your first appearance is a solo appearance, because if your first one's a group one, that's like, I think that diminishes the value a little bit.
All right, Johnny, drop some knowledge on me.
All right.
I'm looking at copies of Sega Sports Tennis 2K2 and on the Dreamcast, and some of them in like the little clear section of the spine, like on the left side of the jewel case, they have a green design, and some of them have a black design. Which one do I want?
You want the black one.
Oh, that one's cheaper. All right. Good. All right, Johnny, I'm going to bid $10 on this copy of Tennis 2K2. I'll let you know how I do. I could buy it for $15. Buy it now, but I'm not getting spendy here. All right.
You're not yet. Don't waste your money. All right. I got some more. And look, I know there's a bunch of people out there screaming about Mike Tyson's Punch-Out. Tyler made an argument that it's more of an arcade game. I said it's just a boxing game. Tyson's Punch-Out is probably its own thing, even though there are other Tyson games. there's a lot of, we've talked a lot about Mike Tyson's Punch Out, a lot about Nintendo games. There's a lot to just talk about Mike Tyson's Punch Out versus other Punch Outs. So we didn't really get into that. So just Mike Tyson's Punch Out, still an all-timer on the NES. You don't need us to talk to you about it on this episode. But Tyler, here's one I want to bring up, and you tell me if this holds any curiosity for you. I need to know.
All right.
Are you ready?
Yep.
Tough Man Contest.
Featuring Butterbean?
Featuring Butterbean, baby. Everybody loves Butterbean.
So that is on the Genesis, right? But it's also on the 32X?
Yeah, get the 32X one.
So the problem with Tough Man Contest is it makes me think of the 32X just because there's so few 32X games, and that is one of the most common 32X games. So that immediately just makes me think it's garbage. Also, I don't want to look at Butterbean, so I don't want Tough Man Contest, Johnny.
You want Tough... It wasn't actually on the Genesis, right? It was just 32X.
Oh, really? Okay. Well,
wait, no. What, does it have like the dumb white cover on the EA? I can't remember. Am I conflating the two? I think it's more popular on the 32X.
We didn't. Yes, it was on the Genesis as well, Johnny.
Okay. Just making sure I'm not getting something dumb wrong that our collective knowledge can get right.
All
right. You don't want Butterbean? I think that's such a curiosity because Butterbean, like, people like Butterbean. Anyways,
I don't know, Johnny. I was born in 1989. I don't know an amateur boxer from the early 90s.
He was a professional, and he was a tough man.
The Tough Man Contest is an amateur boxing competition.
Yeah, but he fought professionals. Anyways, how about Michael Phelps Push the Limit?
See, that's interesting because Michael Phelps, like, he's got something going on. Does he have like the most gold medals for America or whatever?
Yes. Yeah, just like crazy.
I mean, but man, like, we get into like these sports.
It's a Kinect game. Does that help you?
That probably puts it like down.
Well, no, I'm saying that probably means they made less of them, and it comes in a cool purple case.
When it comes to Kinect games, I feel like if I'm looking at like just whatever new old stock that I might find at Goodwill, it's always like Kinect games. Like this feels like a game, and I think we have it in our notes that I'd be able to just go buy right now for nothing.
Yeah, like $7 on Amazon. Go get it.
Right. But Johnny, he's the most gold medals. That's history right there.
That is history. Also, I just want to throw out, in the 80s and like early 90s especially, there was a lot of boxing games made. Boxing was like, I'm not going to say it's at its peak, because boxing was a long-running, like it was a boomer sport before we were calling things boomers. So you just had a lot of people, like George Foreman getting multiple boxing games, Evander Holyfield, Riddick Bowe, who has the ugly, like, white side of the box on the Super Nintendo, so it gets to be a trivia question. You got Chavez 1 and 2, so you get, like, weird rarities. We've already talked about Buster Douglas boxing for the Master System being, the top game there. But I wanted to bring this one up because, people argue him as the greatest boxer or one of the greatest, definitely the most publicized, probably invented hype and shit talking, Muhammad Ali. And he's featured in a game called Muhammad Ali Heavyweight Boxing, and it comes with a sports card pack-in, which most people don't buy or know about. So are you interested in this one?
No, I'm not. Sorry.
No? Not one of the greatest boxers?
Boxing. What? I'll just get a
So
Tyson.
many people care about boxing.
Oh my God. All right. I mean, they can go buy it then, but they're not going to. Because like you said, like, boxing is pre-boomer stuff. Boxing is like silent generation, greatest generation sports. And like, they don't even know what a video game is. So we are talking two different markets.
Okay.
Like what? Because like the people who would be interested in boxing who grew up and are like in their 30s are probably into like MMA instead of boxing. Or they're into MMA and boxing. Right.
Well, I just think Ali has such a cachet because he extended beyond boxing, right? Like that's kind of my point about, he is an icon. He is a sports icon beyond just, he's not just a boxing icon. Like Mike Tyson is like a weird icon now, but Ali is like the premier icon that ever came out of boxing. Like beyond just a boxer. Everyone knew Muhammad Ali.
But so, never had, the reason we talk about Mike Tyson's Punch Out is because his game actually mattered. So.
All right. Well, I mean,
I don't
maybe
go,
this
go
didn't
get
matter.
your Ollie. Go get your sports card inserts. Get your thing. Hype it up.
All
I'm
right.
in. I'm not in, but
You guys,
I'll
you
feel
guys
good for you.
let Tyler know whether boxing matters or not, and if we should be talking about Ali because he's more than a boxer.
All right.
Also, Tyler, when I was going to talk about basketball games, Tyler's like, I don't want to hear from those guys. Just shut up and dribble. That was a thing Tyler said.
What? What are you talking about?
You do not know this? That was a quote that was like some congressman or someone told LeBron to just, maybe it was Trump. I don't remember. It's politics. But they were told, like, we don't want to hear from basketball players. Shut up and dribble. You're just an athlete.
I thought you were saying that I said that at some point. I'm like, that is
I
not
did.
something I would say.
Yes. I was saying you said that.
Okay.
You didn't say that. I was just fucking
making
around.
sure we know we're making American
this is
political
jokes.
references from the recent past that I do not remember happening.
Yeah. Anyways. All right, I think that's it. I think you should buy the Muhammad Ali, but you guys let us know whether we should be buying. Should we care more about boxing and tennis games? Because those were the ones when when the list was big. Tyler's like, "This is too big. Get this bullshit out of here." So just in case you're wondering if Collector's Quest ever considers,
we're not talking about every interesting sports game. I wanted to talk about in broad strokes the different kind of categories that might be interesting.
Yes, you said that. I was just gonna say, for all the people who think that every 3-hour episode of Collector's Quest could have been 2 hours. Look, we do edit. We do cut things out sometimes, though it does not seem that way. Anyways, that's it for sports. Tyler, do we have a collector's question?
Johnny, I just want to bring up before we move on. Michael Phelps, you would think like household name in a sport that people do not watch. Michael Phelps, you would think that carries some weight over into the sports card world. So obviously it's a sports card, so he has about 1 billion rookie cards. And I just,
who gives a shit?
I chopped off all the signed ones because they're like, numbered to 250, like whatever. Like, okay, those are gonna have some value to some weirdos. So I always look for the kind of like the main rookie card that's not signed, just like the one that normal people would pull from packs. It is the 2004 Leaf and Rookies. The 2004 Leaf Rookies and Stars Fans of the Game. Michael Phelps. What a name for a set. It's about $10, Johnny. Only 4 in eBay solds. Completely worthless. So maybe don't invest in the Michael Phelps Connect game. I don't think it will ever have value.
Yeah, you should not buy that.
All right. Let's get to a collector's question, Johnny.
Please.
Domosaurus asks, explain your thought process through your time collecting. How has it changed from start to end? What was your first goal? And what will possibly be your last? Johnny, I don't think yours has changed. Yours is just, I want all the video games for this video game console.
Let's see. It hasn't changed. Well, I'm after less sets. So it's like, but I set like a weird broad goal that I've almost accomplished. So it's like, I can just slow down and buy weird stuff now. Now, like the thing I love buying most, and it's not something that's new to anyone, I just like buying weird Halloween games now. And I've expanded a lot more into PAL and Japanese games than you ever would have thought I would. Also computer games and also, portables. Tyler, Atari games, when you first came on the show, you knew there was no way you were getting me to buy an Atari game, right?
I still feel like there's no way I'm getting you to buy an Atari game.
But how many Atari games do I have now?
I don't know. Is it because they're Halloween games?
No, not all of them. So I got like Smurfs and Spider-Man and, Superman. I just have Atari games now.
Hell yeah.
So, and I have PC games. A lot of those are just because they are Halloween stuff, but this is still stuff that you would never have considered to be in my collection when I first started doing the podcast and when I first started collecting. So it has expanded.
I think that's similar to me because when I was first collecting, like I really wanted the set stuff and anything, even stuff that was like interesting. If it wasn't in a set, and that meant every PC game by default, I was just like, well, fuck this. I could work on my NES set. Why would I want that?
Yep. Yeah, I like the turn it's taken. I'm less interested by sets, and I'm way more interested by interesting or stupid things. Like if it tickles my fancy, like amusing stuff, I'm like in on. Oh, this has a super dumb variant. It's got this dumb thing attached to it. Sure, show me that. Like that Pele sticker. I'm like, man, what a weird thing in video games. I would like that.
Sure.
So,
yeah, I like that stuff. I kind of like stuff that stands on its own like that more than stuff in sets now, which is pretty much the opposite of how I used to think.
Me too.
So yeah, I mean, I started collecting loose NES and complete in box Saturn is really what I got my start in, and I was hitting up the flea markets, hitting up the garage sales, and I didn't have a goal at first beyond like theoretically completing the NES set, which back when stadium events was like a few $100s, still a ridiculous price at the time, but felt like, reasonably feasible to complete a loose NES set at some point. And then, like, because I was going to the garage sales and flea market, I was buying literally every video game I didn't have. I just had a checklist, and it was every video game, and whatever I didn't have, I wanted it. And, after a few years of doing that, I ended up with so many, like, partial sets that at some point I kind of transitioned over, and I'm like, all right, now let's try to seriously complete a bunch of these sets. And then I went after, like, loose Super Nintendo, Sega CD, Sega Genesis, and a couple smaller things like that. I got like loose Game Boy. And I didn't have like very many impressive sets because all my Nintendo stuff is loose, or at least all the, the complete sets are loose. And then I have my Sega sets, which are complete, and we got my Odyssey 2 and some stuff like that. But then, I mean, I've been on Collector's Quest since I completed a lot of that stuff, and you've kind of seen my transition. Like I've much more, I kind of completely transitioned from cartridges to complete in box, obviously. And now I'm into the historical stuff, and that's kind of regardless of region and platform. So computer games, Japanese games, whatever was the first and whatever I'm looking for. First game in a series, first work of a developer, important games and genres is something I'm very, very into. That's kind of the stuff I'm getting into now.
Yeah, you are a historical man now.
Yeah.
Tell me the history.
I mean, what would be my last goal? Like, I don't know what my end game is. My end game, I don't know. There's always going to be stuff that's interesting historically that I've never thought of. And then one day I'm like, what's the first this? Like, what was the thing that we just did? So I don't know who found it, but the that Bulls vs. Blazers KB Toys promotional card.
That was me.
From 1992. You found that and you're like, what's the first retailer promotional thing for a video game? Because like 1992 or whatever exclusive. That game came out, that was pretty early. Like it might be that card. But then I'm like thinking about it and looking into it and I'm like, I don't freaking know. And like, I want to know. It's like such a stupid category of thing, like the first retailer promotion. Who cares? But like, once I start thinking about that and looking into it, like whatever it is, I want it. And because like no one has ever thought about that before, it's not going to be expensive. So I constantly think of these little categories of like stupid historical firsts, and I just want them. So I don't think there is going to be an end goal to that.
Yeah. Well, like when I asked, is this the first rental game? Exactly. This is how my brain thinks. This is how I compartmentalize little things. I'm like, what's the first one of these things? That's interesting. I should do a bunch of research about this because I'm an idiot. That's how it goes.
I asked on Video Game Stage, by the way, for the first retailer exclusives or promotional games. And so the ones I came up with, there were 3 Sears Telegames Atari games that were exclusive. It was Submarine Commander Steeplechase. I forget the other one. But not only were they Sears exclusive, but they marketed them in their ads as only available at Sears. And I'm like, wow, okay, we're in like 1982 and they're marketing these as exclusive. Like this has to be the first. But then someone, I think it was Tulpa on Video Game Stage, brought up like Magnavox Odyssey. The first video game console was only sold in Magnavox stores. So you know what? It's a store exclusive video game. Kind of counts.
So yeah, that's but that's like a whole console worth of stuff. I'm more interested in like, a game that was parsed out to multiple things. Like Sears Telegames, I'll count. But,
yeah, they also brought up that Sears Pong was Sears exclusive originally, so that kind of counts too.
Blah blah blah.
I know. I mean, they're technicalities. They're kind of on the edge, but I really like adding that to the conversation.
Yeah,
if we're going to talk about something stupid like the first store exclusive,
that's what we do. We're, all of us, all we do here is talk about the dumb on the edge stuff, and then contextualize the conversation about the thing that we really think is more interesting. That's fine.
All right. Where were we? Oh man.
We were on questions. We just did first and last end goals. Now what?
Tom Nook asks, what's your go-to Chinese food order, Johnny?
Ooh. When I'm being healthy or when I'm being, well,
Johnny, if you don't have it off the top of your head, it doesn't sound like a go-to order.
No, look, because I have a go-to Chinese restaurant and they like have my order down, but I have to tell them how I'm feeling. And it's like not actually healthy, but like really boring if I'm like trying to like not have my go-to, which is hot, crispy chicken, okay, which is basically like a sub-variant of sesame chicken that's just spicy. That's my go-to order. It's like a spicy sesame chicken. But when I'm trying to be healthy, I get just like their cut up chicken in their garlic brown sauce with water chestnut, or not water chestnuts, peas and carrots and broccoli. That's
all right.
Like I eat Chinese once a week at the same place, so you know I do have a go-to order.
All right, mine's sweet and sour tofu. I want fried tofu. A lot of places don't have it for some reason. I have to like tell them to like try to make it. But I just want some deep fried tofu with that sweet and sour sauce, Johnny. It's delicious.
The interesting thing about deep fried tofu is it takes on like like if you're not a real big tofu person, and I'm not really, but like when you get fried tofu like in Chinese food, you're like, oh, that's like that just tastes like the Chinese food you're used to. So if you're looking for meat supplement, if you're trying to intake less meat, and you are like kind of grossed by tofu, give this a shot because it's a lot different than maybe you're expecting.
I maybe find something healthier than fried tofu if you're really trying to avoid meat.
No, but some people aren't trying to be healthy. They're just not trying to eat meat.
All right. Why are you trying not to eat meat though?
Because they love animals.
Well,
I think meat is murder.
Then you already eat tofu and all this other garbage.
Maybe you're just getting into it. Like some people need gateways, Tyler, and they're like, oh, how am I ever going to get past this part? And, you know, that's why they reach out to the internet for help like that.
All right, Johnny, I've got one more here just because you've already brought it up. But Super Metroid Man asks, what changed your mind about collecting PC games? Was it Tyler, COVID, or something else?
Well, I was collecting PC games I would say Tyler helped. Tyler definitely, I'm talking like you're not here. You definitely helped broaden my horizons a little bit. And like, you just help my thought process, right? Well, we feed on each other and we feed each other bad ideas and spend each other's money. It's great.
It's true. I'm very excited about computer games all the time because computers are my favorite way to play video games in general.
And I at some point I realized like just cutting it off, being like, I love video games. And my argument has always been like, I don't give a shit what system it came out on. Like, yeah, I kind of grew up a Nintendo kid. Sure, I've got some Nintendo bias as does like the collecting community. But like what I love is good games. And then I love interesting things. And I love weird things about games. And especially when I go down the Halloween rabbit hole, there's only so much available on the consoles that we have. There's a lot. But to really get wild and see like what's out there, I have to expand into PAL regions. I have to look in Japan, and I most definitely have to look at computers. So it's a culmination of those things.
All right. And what got me into computers was my grandpa's 286, which he had a strip poker game on. I didn't know that at the time, but that was the game that I booted up, and I didn't know the keyboard sequence to exit it. So whenever I accidentally booted into the strip poker game, I had to call my grandma over to quit the game for me or reboot the computer. And she always made some comment, and I didn't know it was a strip poker game at the time, so I didn't know why she was like, oh, you're playing the poker game looking at the ladies. And I'm like, please, Grandma, I'm just trying to get into the other casino game where I can play some fake roulette. And played some DOS roulette. It was really stupid. I don't know why I did that so much as a kid, but kids will find entertainment in anything.
You're just admit it, just boobs. It's okay, Tyler.
No, the casino game wasn't a porn game, but the poker game was strip poker. But I didn't know how to play poker. Like, I couldn't even get through one hand as a kid because I didn't understand like what was happening. I understand roulette. Oh, I click the 32. I'm hoping that it spins 32 on the wheel, but I didn't understand the poker at all. So I just always lose. And I'm like, Grandma, how do I quit this? Yeah,
it was probably why your grandma was just like, not like, hey, stop that. She's like, she could just make a joke about it.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
All right, Johnny, what are we buying? What are we playing? Johnny, right? So I wrote the outline for this episode of the things I wanted to talk about. And then, you know, as show notes go, we just threw a bunch of stuff at the bottom. One of the things we threw at the bottom was Wayne Gretzky under LeBron, Kobe, and Michael Jordan. It's like, okay, let's get someone from a different sport, different country, make this maybe a little bit more interesting. And that's when we learned 1988 apparent smash hit for Bethesda Softworks, Wayne Gretzky Hockey, was originally released for the Amiga. Didn't own it, and I bought it literally 4 hours ago. So that is all I'm really buying.
Okay.
So that's what I got. And then Johnny, you know what? No, what's more interesting? What I've been playing through all the crap that I got in the Steam sale, but there's this game that's also a Switch game, so maybe people can actually relate to it. But it's called Tori 2, and then there's also Tori 3D. Have you ever heard of these? I don't know how popular they are.
I don't think I have. I would have to look at the cover.
They're just simple 3D platformers. They're similar to modern Sonic games. Honestly, the gameplay isn't why this is an interesting thing. This is exactly what I want modern games to be, because I think games are just too long and there's too many of them, and that most of them aren't interesting enough to be 20 hours, which is how long video games are a lot of the time, or at least 10 hours. These games are $1 each, and they each have 9 levels, and the levels are literally like 1 minute long. And so to like just run through the game, it literally takes a half hour. And then the levels have kind of speed run goals. It rates you, and it'll probably take you another hour to kind of unlock everything in the game. And so it's this nice little hour and a half gaming experience that costs $1. And then the game's over. It doesn't waste your time. There's no bloat. There's no story. It's just like, here's the levels, go do them. Here's the goals, and bam, gameplay. You're having fun. And man, I wish video games were like this. No game has the balls to release a low-cost game that has less than 2 hours of content in it. And I love it. And I know it will never be the way games are made, because just making a game engine and all that is too expensive, whatever. But I wish this is how games I wish games worked like movies, is what I'm saying. And I just thought that was awesome.
Okay.
So if you have a Switch, Tori 2 is a lot better than Tori 3D. It's a 3D Sonic game. It's $1. Just go play it.
And
don't even play for the gameplay. Play it because I think it's an interesting way the game should be distributed.
And how are we spelling Tori? If someone was like
Toree.
Okay, because there's like Toki Tori, which is Tori.
Yes. So Tori is a little yellow bird. So does Tori mean something in relation to little yellow birds?
Probably, because Toki Tori is also a yellow bird.
Yeah, I thought that was weird.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I was giving that to the audience in case they don't know what the hell we're talking about.
Okay.
All right. Tyler, I'll tell you what I bought. I did not buy a Wayne Gretzky for the Amiga, though I thought about it. I did. I was like, ooh. And then I was like, what, are you crazy? Stop that. Don't buy that. And then I was like, I should definitely buy that Muhammad Ali card, though. I did not buy that yet either.
All right.
I'm still thinking about it. So what did I actually buy, Tyler? Hey, I bought We're Back, a dinosaur story.
For the Game Boy Color?
For the Game Boy Color, yeah. No, for the Game Boy.
For the Game Boy.
It's the original Game Boy.
All right, I could approve of buying any complete and box Game Boy game, so I'm down.
I also bought Q*bert for the original Game Boy, which I was curious if in France he's called Q*bert.
I bet he is.
Just let me know, my Canadian friends or anyone who are around French people more often than I am. Is it Q*bert? I'm so hoping that it's like, oh, the arcade classic, Q*bert. I just want that to be a thing. So, anyways, there's real thoughts that I think people, I apologize. I am ridiculous. Hey, Tyler, here's a Switch game I bought. And I know you're going to be super into this.
Uh-huh.
Okay, and we're going to have to help me with the pronunciation. Umahari Kawase?
Oh, okay. You bought the 3D one? Sure. I don't know how it's pronounced.
Yeah,
Umahari Kawase.
There's two of them. There's one called Fresh and one called Bazooka. So I bought those for the Switch. I was like, this will be fun. Because this is such like a big series. It was in so many franchises in Japan. I was like, yeah, I'll check this out on the Switch. So I went and I picked that up, and those just arrived. So, I'm curious to see what those are like. I also bought the original one, Tyler, but I haven't completed my Japan order yet, because when the Japan order comes in, I'm going to have a lot of games to talk about.
All right. Yeah, I mean, I bought that too. Did I even talk about this on the show? I don't even know.
I don't know if we kind of talked briefly about it, but I think we said we're going to save it till the Japanese stuff comes in.
All right. We'll
Did
talk
yours
about
come
it
in?
more when your stuff comes in.
Did yours come in?
Yeah, I think I've got mine.
Oh, okay. So, yeah, like my box was done, and then I added one more game to it. I found a Halloween game And I was like, oh, well, now I got to wait till this one gets there. So that, and then another Game Boy game I bought, you'll hate this one though. I bought Mickey's Dangerous Chase, but it was the Player's Choice version.
Wow, you are truly Player's Choice Game Boy Color set, Johnny. Got to get everything.
Not Game Boy Color. This is Game Boy. It's on Game Boy.
Well, I still hate it. Sorry.
Yeah, I know. I have the original one too, but I found out there's a variant to it. So there's this horrible looking offer, like a yellow triangle in the left hand side of the game. In the game art, even worse because Game Boy boxes are partitioned. So it's got this like horrible, like, hey, get this, like, I think $10 off offer or something. No, a fanny pack offer. It's a fanny pack offer for that. And then there's a blank version. So it's like the offer ended, but they were still making the game. So they just they don't remove the yellow triangle though. They just remove the words from the yellow triangle, Tyler.
Because they probably didn't have the art, or like whoever was printing it was like, oh, we don't have the original. Oh, we're not going back to do this again. Just take the text off there. No one's, but like, it's like the game has been in stores for a year or two, and it's just like, all right, this is still in stores, but whatever. We just legally can't print this anymore.
But the Player's Choice Million Seller doesn't have that on it. It's got the badge there, but the art where that's behind the yellow square is still prevalent. You can still see it. So there's no yellow there. So they did go back at some point for the Player's Choice and fix it, which I just thought to be an interesting curiosity in the game collecting world. So you can go check that out for yourself. Mickey's Dangerous Chase for the Game Boy. That's what I bought.
About that
and Tyler, do you want to know what I played? Would you care? I played Diablo. That was it.
Okay. You know, I've mostly been playing RimWorld with Ada, but no one wants to hear about RimWorld. I thought Tori 2's distribution is a lot more interesting. You know, one thing you told me recently, Johnny, because I don't know if you're tuned into Twitter or whatever, you told me Limited Run Games is coming out with a version of Colossal Cave.
Yes.
This is barely related to what we're talking about, but like, let me know when that comes out. I kind of want that.
I know. That's why the only reason I told you. I thought, like, unless they've done something egregiously stupid, which is frequent, I don't send you messages about limited run games. But I thought you would be interested in Colossal Cave. Like we said, it's not like they won't ever get our money. They're announcing that they announced the GBA pack, and I'll be grabbing that for Castlevania, though I hate it. Like, actually, game compilations are kind of the worst. I kind of hate them. So spending money from limited run to buy a compilation, also kind of terrible. But, you know, I love me some Castlevania.
See, this is the weird thing. Like, Limited Run Games' whole thing, like, it's in their name. It's like, oh, Limited Run, there's not going to be that many of them. You're going to be rich if you buy our stuff. And literally, like, the most common stuff is probably some of the better stuff to buy, like that Castlevania Advanced Collection. It's literally a physical reprint of games that were all printed physically. But it says Castlevania and Nintendo on it, so it's going to be something that people want. Whereas Colossal Cave, if I buy the PC version of Colossal Cave, like, I'm throwing money in the toilet when I buy that. But there will be fewer copies of that out there.
But, you know, to be fair, those Castlevania games, you know, they probably didn't make that many of them.
Like, yeah, you're right. Yeah, all the Castlevania games are super rare. People, it's a pretty obscure series. Rare. It's a real hidden gem.
I mean, well, thank God they're keeping, you know, they're saving games, preservation.
Yes.
Also, I don't know, did you see any of the stuff? Because they did like their, whatever their version of E3 is. Dude, they always do these. It was such a trash presentation. The gimmick was so horrible. And the guy presenting, it's just like in his hat. And it's just like, oh man, this is like, I think the gimmick maybe was fine for 5 minutes, but like an hour-long presentation was just like, guys, this is too much. This is like maybe a funny thing you say, but not a thing you do for an hour.
All right. No, I did not see it.
Go enjoy.
Checked out, Johnny. That's why I need you to tell me when something interesting comes out, because I'm checked out at this point with.
Yeah, no, I watched it on
even limited run stuff.
Yeah, YouTube 2.0 speed. Let's go. That's how I watch that. That's how I watch a lot of things. Consume the content.
Did you get the Soldice and El Viento collector's editions, Johnny? Renovation games, Johnny. Renovation.
Oh, man, that's one of the ones I was going to ask you if you thought was interesting. It was Jennifer Capriati Tennis, because it says renovation on it. Should we collect that one?
No. Although, like it's funny, Jennifer Capriati, it's one of those names that come up if I'm like at trivia and there's just a 90s tennis question and I have no answer, but I know it has to be like a female tennis player. Like that'll be just name I throw out.
Like,
and the people
Martina
I'm sitting with will be like, who
Navratilova.
the fuck is Jennifer Capriati? Or like, how are you pulling that name out? And I'm like, oh yeah, she had a Sega Genesis game when she was like 14 years old or something.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like her and Martina Navratilova. That's like pretty much it. And I think Chris Everett's like the other big female tennis player. Anyways, doesn't matter. All right, that's it, Tower. We did it.
We did it. Sports games. If you made it to the end of this episode, you're a real video game collector.
You did it. Hey, congratulations, collectors. You've made it to the end of the Collector's Quest podcast.
Where can we find you, Johnny?
You can find me on Instagram and our Discord. That's Johnny_Iucci. Or I think Discord is Johnny VS. That's Johnny versus not Johnny Fives.
You can find me by talking to Johnny and he'll tell you how to get to me. Or Discord. Or I was on the Lost Joystick Network podcast as the Retro Gem Miner. It's talking tongue-in-cheek about investing in video games. If you want a stupid podcast to take up 2 more hours of your time, you can listen to the Lost Joystick Network.
Yeah, you should give them a try. Anyways, that's it for our show. Tyler, thanks for hanging out with me. Good show on LJN. You guys should check it out. Tyler was very entertaining. But that's it for us today. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for being, for all of you who are Patreons, thank you for your continued support. If you wish to join us there, you can go to patreon.com/collectorsquest for as little as $2 or as much as $4. $2 gets you in the door into the Patreon or into the Discord where you can hang out with us, and $4 gets you our bonus episodes, like the one I have coming up with Daddy Mulk, where I just wanted to talk to him because he's a very knowledgeable collector about Sega Genesis variants, more so than Tyler and I even, and we go pretty hard on Genesis variants. So he and I had a conversation, and that should be up probably before this is. Anyways, if you didn't see it, it's out now. Go give that a listen and tell Daddy Mulk what a great job he did. That's it for the show. Thanks so much, everybody. Bye.